Third reading, would you mind reading us the pledge of allegiance?
Sorry, everyone. Apologize. The pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, roll call please.
Trustee Gonzalez. Trustee Gator.
Present.
Trustee Terlini. Trustee Willis, present. Trustee Bukowski. Trustee Nasir.
President.
Trustee Wall.
Present.
We have a quorum, thank you. Adoption of the agenda. Be resolved that the Board of Education accepts the April 5th, 2023 agenda as presented. A board member may request an item or items be removed from the consent agenda to superintendent's recommendations with the removal of agenda item 8A, 8B, AHS leadership class presentations. I was informed today that the leadership class is not here to make those presentations. No, just B.
Could be.
Removing 8B, because they're not here to present today. Is there a motion? So moved by Vice President Wall, supported by Trustee Abu Salah. Is there a discussion?
For discussion, I just wanted the explanation for why the closed session was moved up on the agenda, or would you want to do that next?
Yes, I will do that next.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Bukowski.
Yes.
Trustee Nasir.
Yes.
Trustee Terlini.
Yes.
Trustee Wall.
Yes.
Trustee Willis, yes. Trustee Gonzalez.
Yes.
And Trustee Gator.
Yes. Motion carries. Before we jump into public comment, I wanted to front load a few things because our agenda looks different today. So I took in the feedback from the community, from those who have had to attend the closed session, and from fellow board members, that because of our meetings have ran very long since we got on board, that it may be advantageous to everybody and be more efficient with everyone's time if we have closed sessions earlier in the meeting instead of waiting to the end. So that is why you all will see today, or have seen today, that the closed session will happen at the front of our meeting instead of at the end. Any questions about that? Okay. I also wanted to share that Trustee or Treasurer Nasser has a comment that she would like to make, or an announcement that she would like to make, and we will have her do that right after the first public comment. Okay. Did you have a question? Did I see your hand?
No, I just wanted to, we had a off the record conversation, so I just wanted it to be on the record that we keep in mind what the topics of our closed sessions are, so that we don't have the audience, especially the students, waiting for a really long time for us to come back from closed session because everybody has work in school tomorrow.
Sounds good. What would be your recommendation to maybe find a middle path in all of those matters?
I like them at the end of the meeting just so that people wouldn't have to wait around.
Okay.
It's just a little awkward to walk out and then be gone for an undefined amount of time and then come back. I'm just thinking from the perspective of once being in the audience.
Okay. Any other board member have any opinion, observation on that? Or, again, I do recall hearing from board members that we may want to start having it sooner in the meeting. Yes, Trustee O'Connell.
President Gator, I think in matters of student discipline, they should be at the beginning because there is school the next day and those families wait sometimes a long time. I think perhaps in the event that it does not have to deal with student discipline or student issues, we could put it back at the end because then, as Trustee Gator or Secretary Gator or Swindless said, I'm looking at you, sorry. Secretary Winless pointed out, right now we have students who are going to be presenting and things like that. So maybe look at it that way, that if it's a student discipline hearing or any issue with a student, that we do that at the beginning and attorney-client privileges be held till the end.
I can start with that. Thank you. Any other comment? Yes, trustee Salinas.
I would agree with what trustee Maltowski said.
Okay, hearing none. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. On to public comment number 1. On agenda items only. Do we have anyone who is wanting to speak on agenda items only? Thank you. Welcome.
Hi. Jennifer Feynman, Annapolis High School teacher, 22 years. Sponsored the class of 2025 of the Annapolis Drama Club, of Shoes, of the Haunted House, and currently pursuing my national board certification. So I just want to make sure everybody knows the professional knew what I was doing. I'm up here to talk about financial issues and the department chair issue. So if you would indulge me, I just have written report or written things in here. All right, so I am curious why the needs and opinions of the D7 teachers seem to be the last thing on the minds of those making decisions for our district. We're the ones in the classroom, we're the ones to contact the kids, and our needs and opinions seem to be not important to those who are making the decisions for the district, and we keep being told time and time again what we need by people who don't come to our rooms, don't talk to our kids, and don't talk to us about what we need in the rooms, and that is what I'm talking about, is these department heads that keep being tossed around. I have a small English department, 6 teachers, 7, if we have to reach out to Mr. Robinson to teach those extra classes we don't have. And as a small 6-person department, we work well together. We work as a team, we collaborate, everybody helps everybody else. If there's a problem, we talk to each other. We work well as a team, and we're 6 people. Have a department head in a small department like that would create chaos, would create disharmony, it would create an imbalance in the power in the group, there would be problems. If we had, say, 12 teachers, I would understand if we need to have department heads, but it doesn't make sense in a department of 6. Our science department has 4 teachers. Does it make sense to have a department head there? Absolutely not. It's a waste of the money, it's a waste of resources, and it's going to create stress and disharmony, as one member of the department would be put in a position where they have to be a middle manager and an authority figure to their colleagues, and that's unfair to them, it's unfair to the rest of the department, and all I can see is problems arising from that. And again, if we were a larger department, maybe it would make sense. But for 6 people who have been working hard together, some of us have been here for a really long time, me and Ms. Sager have worked together for a very long time, and we are happy to be mentors to the rest of our department, but we don't want to be department heads, we don't need department heads, it creates an imbalance. Instead, I think that money would be better spent in other places to help the teachers across the district so that we don't have to have department heads. If we are going to do curriculum stuff, maybe we can spend some of that money on programs like Nearpod or Kahoot or quizzes or Canva or Edpuzzle or Pear Deck, all of these programs which are designed to help teachers be better teachers. When we went online, I used many of those programs, paid for them out of my own pocket, and found how really great they are. We're a one-to-one district, our kids have Chromebooks, and as such, it makes sense for us to invest in that part of our education as opposed to putting people in charge of a group of people who work well together and don't need that kind of interference or that kind of imbalance in the department. I think that we need to think about how we're spending that money. As a teacher that gave up 10 plus years of pay and of steps to help keep this district afloat, like many of my colleagues, and you've heard about this, but we gave up that stuff to help D7 stay a great district. And I love my kids. I love this district. I could work anywhere, but I choose to stay here because I love this district and I love the kids, and I want to see what's best for the district. I don't think department heads are the way to go. And I think that we are better off spending money on things that will help us be better teachers, help our students be better students, help them be successful, and help us be successful with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on agenda items only? Any other public comment on agenda items only? Seeing and hearing none. Treasurer Nasser, I believe you have an announcement to make.
Yes, thank you, President Dieter. So, good evening, everyone. I sent a letter to President Dieter on March 29th, and I just wanted to read it out loud to everyone. And it basically just says, Dear President Dieter, I'm writing this letter to inform you of my resignation, effective immediately from the position of treasurer for the 2023 calendar year. I would like to continue serving as a trustee and supporting the transition for the newly elected treasurer at our next meeting. I appreciate the opportunity to serve as treasurer. Let me know if you have any questions. My reason behind this is, many of you know, I'm a full-time student. I've worked full-time, and as much as time, I wanted to put a lot more time into this position, which I'm not able to. And the position isn't just a position for me. I really would like to do the work, and at this point, I feel like I'm not. And so I would like to pass it on to someone if someone else had interest, and that's really all it is. I appreciate you guys for allowing me to serve in this role for a couple of months. Your support it means everything to me. And so maybe in the future I can do something like this in future years. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I guess what I would like to say is I appreciate your diligence around this, being very upfront and honest, because it is a very important role. And even though your time in that role is very short, again, I appreciate you stepping up to the plate to serve it.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing seeing none. Thank you for that. And again, that is why you also see later on in the agenda, there is a need to accept nominations to fill that position. All right. There is a need to go into closed session for the purpose of attorney-client privilege and review of documentation. Is there a motion? So moved by Trustee Beltowski. Is there support? Supported by Trustee Abusalos. Is there a discussion? Okay. We will meet in closed session in the media center. Okay. Do we need any extra time? We just got here. There. We just got here.
You gonna walk down there? 25 minutes.
Motion to go into closed session at 7:18 p.m. Okay. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Trustee Nasir?
Yes.
Trustee Carlini? Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Upsala?
Yes.
Trustee Botowski?
Yes.
And Trustee Gator?
Yes, motion carries. Motion to return from closed session and back into open session at 8:23 p.m. So moved by Trustee Abusalos, supported by Vice President Wall. Is there discussion? Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Trustee Nasir?
Yes.
Trustee Carlini?
Yes.
Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Upsala?
Yes.
Trustee Botowski?
Yes.
And Trustee Gator?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item number 8 under Superintendent's Report, Student Ambassador Showcase. So thank you to our students for waiting. We thank you for being here, and we look forward to hearing what's going on in your various schools. What do we have first? Thank you. Welcome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Madison McDonnell. I am.
Pardon me, Madison, are you able to lift it up? Do you need support? Does it lift up?
Can you hear me?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Madison McDonnell. I am one of the students from the Virtual Pathways program. I'm in 11th grade. So AHS Online students will be taking PSAT 9, PSAT 10, as well as the Michigan Merit Exam beginning on Wednesday at Annapolis High School. Everybody is to report to Annapolis. It doesn't matter if you're online or in person. You should all have received a thing of when you should be coming in. So, pre-bubbling, you also have to come in for pre-bubbling. The sessions are next week. The times are Monday for 11th graders at 1:30 to 2:55. They'll be released early if they finished early. 9th graders will be reporting Tuesday at 8:30 to 9:30. That is the first session of pre-bubbling. And 10th graders who were absent as well would be reporting Tuesday at 9:45 to 10:45. Students are to report to the cafeteria once they reach the building. Middle school students in 8th grade will be taking the PSAT 8 at best. Testing will be at 7:57 on Wednesday, April 12th, to take the PSAT. That is at best. DHBA and Graduation Alliance students will report to Madison for state testing on the 12th and 13th. There will be a free student vaccine clinic at Kindergarten Roundup. High school conferences are coming up on the 20th. And ALEKS training part 2 will occur at the staff meeting in May for professional development. That is it for me.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Madison Cannell? Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Who do we have next?
Hi, my name is Alyssa Howard, and I am a senior at Annapolis High School. So for clubs, our varsity club is back up and running thanks to Mr. Spencer and the Student Athlete Mental Health Leadership Project. The varsity club's next meeting will be April 19th, and they hope to have a growing club. The Annapolis High School robotics team made it to the semifinals, which is the farthest the team has ever made it. We will be having Easter breakfast with the Easter Bunny April 8th, which is this weekend. The PTO is currently sponsoring a shoe drive. All shoe donations can be dropped off to Annapolis High School before April 19th. All donations are appreciated. Juniors, the class of 2024, are sponsoring a bake sale during the parent-teacher conferences on April 20th at Annapolis High School. All donations are greatly appreciated. Friday, April 21st, Annapolis will celebrate International Day, which is a student-led leadership project. There will be an assembly with various performances, and students will be able to celebrate and appreciate the rich culture and diverse backgrounds that make the Annapolis High School student body. The Sissification of Romeo and Juliet is May 5th and 6th in the auditorium. We will be having our May concert on May 11th at 7 p.m. in the auditorium. Ameristranza, which is another student-led project, will be in the auditorium on May 23rd at 6 p.m. We will be hosting Penny Wars, which will happen soon. Shoes, or Students Helping End World Suffering, will host this annual event and donate all the money to a worthy charity beyond our borders. Please send your unwanted pennies to Annapolis High School, care of Ms. Finan. Our senior prom is June 1st at the Inn at St. John's in Plymouth. And lastly, our graduation will be June 7th at 7 o'clock at Taylor Sports Clubs.
Sounds good. Thank you, Melissa Howard. To the board, are there any questions or comments? Hearing none. Thank you again to you both for coming to represent your schools today. Feel free to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you may go home. Thank you. Agenda item 8C, Food Service Excess Fund Update from Chris Simpson. Welcome, thank you.
Hello. Can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, we have our team. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Hamza.
All right. So I'm here tonight to talk again about the excess fund balance in the food service account. First, I know there's some new faces on the board that might not be familiar with me, so I wanted to introduce myself again. My name is Christopher Simpson. Chris is good. And I've been with Chartwells for 8.5 years. I've been a food service director for 5, and I've been here in D7 for 3.5. So what is an excess fund balance? An excess fund balance occurs when the food service fund, the amount in the food service fund exceeds 3 months of average expenditures at year end. It's calculated and monitored by NVE, and it's required for them to do so by the USDA. It's a good problem to have. It means we're running a successful program, and we're making a profit, and so it's time to spend that money and reinvest into the program. So we have a large excess fund balance of $284,150.54. And that's because it includes the $146,728 of last year's that was carried over into this year, and we've spent almost all of that except for one project here at Annapolis, the walk-in freezer from last year is not complete yet. So that leaves the new total for this year as $137,422.54, and we have to spend that money by June 30th of this year, or fill out a waiver request to carry it again over to next year. So the USDA requires that federal reimbursements be reduced for SFAs with repeated findings on excess fund balance. What this means though is not that you continue to have one, more so if you're not getting these plans approved and then following through on the plan. So if you're non-compliant with the excess fund balance, that's when this reduced reimbursement can come into play. The funds can only be used to reinvest into the food service program. So I wanted to show you guys some of the stuff we got from last year's excess fund balance. So this is the new dish machine at OW Best. It was installed over winter break. It's a lot fancier than the old one. It's all controlled by a computer, has a lot more bells and whistles, and has been working great since it was installed. And then we just got our new serving lines at OW Best, which happened just the Friday before spring break. So it's really nice to have all matching equipment, and everything's working great. The cold wells work, as I mentioned last year, the cold wells that we had didn't work. We had to put ice in them every day, so everything is working and pretty okay. And then Polk and Bedford each got a new freezer that's seen there in the middle, and then the mobile food heating carts, which is the black box in front. We have one of those for each elementary school. And again, it's just nice to have new. We have cords now for the top and bottom. Before we only had cords to run the top on each unit. Some of them were broken and damaged and things like that. So again, everything is nice and working well. So now I'm going to talk about what we want to spend the money on for this year. So I met a couple weeks ago with Dr. Weeks and Dr. Finney and Mr. Perkins. We kind of talked through some needs in the district and then what kind of a plan we wanted to come up with. And so we talked a lot about updating the equipment at Annapolis, and a lot of our equipment here, some of the things have been repaired a time or two, but everything that we have currently works. So we were thinking that we could, anything that we replace, we would be able to give the existing equipment to the culinary program if they were interested in that. So I was able to talk with Mr. Radwanski and show him kind of the things that we have and then what he was interested in. So the first thing is this double stack oven. This is the only oven we have at the high school. So we serve about 400 meals a day at Annapolis, and we granted some of those are cold sandwiches or parfaits or salads, things like that. But this is our only oven. So if one of these tops or bottoms isn't working on a given day, it can cause some problems. So we'd like to purchase two. The equipment next to it I don't have a picture of, but it's just a fryer, like a deep fryer, and then like a stand that you would pour the fries in after they were fried. We can't really use that equipment because we can't fry anything per the health regulations. So we'd like to put another oven in place of that and get rid of that equipment. So the cost for two new ovens is $20,000, $20,514. Upgrading the pizza conveyor oven. Again, this is, it works. It's just not in the nicest condition, but it does work. We'd like a newer one, and then we'd be able to let culinary have this. All of the equipment that I'm showing, Mr. Radwanski had addressed. So, a new conveyor pizza oven would be $7,790. And then next up we have our steamer and tilt skillet. These are both in really good shape. Nothing wrong with them. They haven't been repaired. So Mr. Radwanski expressed interest in both of these. The steamer would be $15,824, and the tilt skillet would be $22,661. And then these are hot warming cabinets. We have one of these on each serving line. They've both been repaired a time or two, but they are currently working. It's just where we keep all of our hot food after it's cooked before it goes out on the serving line. So to replace two would be $15,688. And then the gas range and the reach-in cooler. Again, both of these are in pretty good condition and will be used and happily used by the culinary program. A new range would be $3,201, and a new cooler would be $6,110. So we also, if you guys remember the leadership class project about the reusable trays and the trash can, like with the tray station, we were able to, those are allowable costs as well. So we were able to wrap that up as presented by Emma Arn and Sophia Benavides Colon from the leadership class. So the trays would be $1,391.04 for just over $1,000. And then garbage stations, they're about $200 a piece. We budgeted for 5, but maybe need to increase that or decrease that. I'm not exactly sure how many we need, so about $1,000 for the garbage stations. We also would like to give the food service staff a one-time bonus based on years of service in D7. So Dr. Weeks and I came up with the tier list, so if they've been here 0 to 1 years, they would get a bonus of $250. If they've been here 1 to 10 years, it'd be $500. 10 to 20 years would be $750, and then 20 plus years would be $1,000. The total amount of the bonus would be $21,750. And then taking up the rest of the money would be custom cafeteria tables. So Dr. Weeks saw the tables similar to this one in the picture. This is just like the generic brochure, but when they were at E-Course schools, they have custom tables like this. So I'm waiting on a quote for what that would look like for us. But any leftover money would go into that, and then we're continuing to run a profitable program still. So I'm sure we can afford to make up whatever. If there's not enough left after everything else to buy the tables, the food service fund, I'm sure can cover that. So what I'm asking from you is approval to spend the money. So our spend down plan has already been submitted to MDE, and we did receive approval from them. And this is our intent to purchase the items above, but depending on updated pricing and things like that, it may be subject to change.
Mr. Senator, quick question.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible that the students could design those tables so that they say Annapolis Cougars, that maybe the young people can design those tables themselves?
I'm meeting with the rep on Monday, and I can certainly ask.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson, for your presentation. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Vice President Wall, we will do Trustee Sterlini. Did I see a third hand? Trustee Dolkowski, you'll go next. Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. The one question I had is for the items to look to the culinary program. Is there somewhere that would be able to be stored until the culinary program starts?
Jason.
Potentially. Sorry. We'd probably have to work on that.
I'm sure it would be based off of how we've been ordering the stuff from last year. I'm sure it would be a while before we get stuff in. There's still kind of supply chain delays and things like that.
All right.
In that regard.
Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Sterlini?
I have a couple things, sorry. So to piggyback off of what Vice President Wall said, with these items that you're going to purchase and then give the good ones to the culinary arts program, I don't know if you know this answer or not, will that fit in with how we are going to design the rooms? Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Awesome. And then the reusable trays and garbage stations, are we going to throw away then the ones we already have? Because I feel that's a waste. We have trays currently, right?
Not reusable trays. We use
I know, but we have trays.
styrofoam trays, yeah.
Oh, they're styrofoam, so they get thrown in the garbage.
Yes.
Got it, perfect. That answered that question. And then my other comment about the tables, I've kind of made this comment before, and maybe that's where we're going with this. These tables don't work, or the tables we have don't work for bigger people, taller people, so I'm hoping that's what, we're just gonna be more customizable. I love the idea with the Cougars and let the kids do it. I hope they're gonna be Cougar colors.
Yes.
Is what I seen our school's gotten away from is the colors of the school. So, great presentation. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
That's good. Thank you. Trustee Dolkowski?
I just have a comment. I am so excited to see Emma Arns and Sophia Benavenides Colin's vision come to life.
Yeah, it's really cool that we were able to work it into that we have money to spend, so they don't have to worry about funding or anything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One other question. Do we have a dishwasher here at the high school?
We do have a dishwasher. It's not a conveyor one as pictured. It just washes one rack of dishes at a time.
So would trays fit into that dishwasher?
Trays would fit into that dishwasher. We also have a 3-compartment sink to wash them as well.
Thank you.
Does that complete the comments from the board? All right, thank you, Mr. Simpson, for your presentation. Agenda item 8D, upcoming construction projects from Jason Perkins. Welcome.
Thank you, President Gator, and thank you to the board for allowing me to be here tonight. Tonight I'm here to talk about some upcoming construction projects, 3 of them specifically for your consideration. And tonight's presentation has been a culmination of a lot of hard work. We've been working on getting to the point that we're at tonight for really like a year and a half on some of these projects. So just a lot of heavy lifting, and we're finally to the point where we need to make the board super aware and bring you guys up to date on where we're at with everything. So without further ado, the first project that we're going to talk about is going to be unit ventilators. And the unit ventilators that we're talking about replacing are at the 3 elementaries, Polk, Bedford, and Pardee. This is a project that we've been working on for about a year and a half. This has been a long one. So we're finally to the point where we're looking to push this work forward. This construction would take place summer. It's not for this summer, it is for next summer. I want to make that clear. I want to take it slow here because we've got some new board members and just kind of talk about what in the world is a unit ventilator, because some of you might be saying that right now. So a unit ventilator, or for short as we call them, Univent, is basically the HVAC unit in the classroom. So this unit in the classroom does the heating, potentially the air conditioning. Ours currently don't, but the heating, the air conditioning, and the ventilation for the classrooms. Most classrooms have a unit like you see there in the actual classroom. Some areas are served by rooftop units and not a unit ventilator. Those areas are being addressed this summer as well. So not talking about that, just talking about the classrooms that have this unit ventilator in the classroom. So why replace our current unit ventilators? So the plan to use most of our ESSER funds to replace roofs and unit ventilators originally put forward during Dr. Sears' time in leadership. And the point that I'm trying to make there with that is that this isn't a project that we thought about last week and said, hey, let's spend the rest of our ESSER dollars, let's get rid of these, we gotta spend them on something. This is something that's been well thought out, it's been planned for about a year and a half. That presentation at that time, the community was wondering, hey, what are you guys doing with ESSER dollars? There was a lot of questions around that. We gave a presentation at that time that said, hey, look, ESSER dollars are gonna be used for roof replacements and unit ventilators. Since that time, we've replaced the Annapolis roof, which was a great improvement, as well as the Madison roof. So those 2 projects are done, 100% complete. So now we're trying to wrap up kind of the tail end of that promise that we made to the community with the unit ventilators. So it took a little longer than planned, but we're finally to this point where we've done the due diligence and we're ready for unit ventilators. So our current unit ventilators are about 50 years old. So they're original to the buildings. Buildings were built in the 50s, most of them. So they're original and they're old. The replacement units would help to regulate the temperature in the classroom. So that's hard for us right now with these older units. We can't find parts for them. They don't regulate the temperature in the classrooms very well. So the new ones would help with that. Also safety, there's a safety factor with the unit ventilators. So just making some points here of why we've been deciding to use the ESSER dollars for unit ventilators. Parts no longer available. Air filtration, obviously with COVID and things like that. Ability to install the higher MERV rated air filters, which is basically just a better air filter. So we're filtering that air in the classrooms better. We're regulating the temperature better. They're also quieter and less disruptive. So our older unit vents that are 50 years old are old and clanky and make a lot of noise in the classroom. These ones will be a lot quieter. Ability to add air conditioning. So our current unit ventilators, it would not be an option to add air conditioning to them. They do heating only. They're old and that's not an option. With the new ones, that would be. So we have that potential to add air conditioning in the classrooms. Also, the last point is that the ESSER dollars must be spent. So again, this was our original plan. We're just following through with it basically here. So what's been done so far for unit ventilators? Design and specs have been completed through Aersman, our architect of record. Pre-bid walkthroughs were held, bidding process was held, low bidders have been identified, post-bid meetings have been held with the parent low bidders. So again, just a lot of due diligence. We really made sure that we're getting the best contractor, that we're getting the best deal, that we're specing it properly. So all that's been done. A lot of due diligence there with a lot of help from Dr. Reeves and Dr. Porcello, so thank you for that. So now down to the numbers. It's a big cost. It is a big project. We're talking about 3 elementaries. We're talking about all the unit ventilators at those 3 elementaries. The cost to do that is $1,712,000. There is another component to it. It would actually be 2 contractors. That's a mechanical contractor. There's an electrical portion to it. $248,360. Total cost to replace the unit ventilators, and it's all the unit ventilators at Polk, Hardy, and Bedford. So all those heating units in all those classrooms at 3 different elementaries, but also adding air conditioning to 1 elementary, which would be Bedford. And so a lot of thought went into that as well. The reason that we decided on Bedford, well, we couldn't afford to add air conditioning in all the buildings. Let's start with that. And the way that we prioritized Bedford was summer school being there, right? So they're there all summer long. Probably start with the air conditioning there. Now the other 2 buildings would be prepped for air conditioning. So it could be added at a later time, which we plan to do. You know, it could be the next bond series. It could be building a site, a few different ways to fund that, but that potential is there. The unit would be prepped to add air conditioning at the other 2 elementaries. So that is the total cost for unit replacements. Should I ask if there's any questions on that before
I was
moving
thinking the
on?
same thing, Mr. President.
So there's 2 other projects I'm going to talk about other than unit ventilators. Do you guys want to stop for a second? I feel like there could be questions.
Any
on
questions
unit
about
ventilators.
units? Trustee Bukowski?
I have a question. So you made a good point. I was wondering why Bedford was chosen because they have summer school. Why not Madison that has summer camp?
So Madison already has air conditioning, and it's not through unit ventilators. They have we call them mini splits. It's a separate, self-contained air conditioning unit in the classrooms that they utilize for summer camp.
Thank you.
Okay, go.
Anyone else? Hearing, seeing, thank you.
All right, the next project I have for your consideration is the cosmetology room remodel. So unlike the unit events, which would be next summer, cosmetology would happen this summer. So we're looking to move on this one right away. For those of you that don't know, it's in the old Cisco lab down there. That's where cosmetology is going to be housed. And I've kind of put together a little synopsis here of what would be included in that renovation. It's basically converting the existing Cisco lab into a space for cosmetology, including a dedicated lecture area as well, as a hands-on learning stations for the nails and hairstyling. Prepare both classrooms by removing existing flooring materials, wall-based built-in desks, metal racks, the mesh system that was in there for the Cisco lab, existing doors, side lights as noted, existing ceilings would stay to save some money there. There was already drop ceilings in those rooms. Light fixtures would remain as well. We're going to move them around and kind of redesign that a little bit, but to save some money there. But we would be building new partition walls in the cosmetology room in order to create the hair washing room. 6 stations on that. Hairstyling area with 20 stations, as well as 4 process dryers. Some millwork, a reception desk, basically just making it look like a salon in there. So the architect did a really good job of kind of capturing that and bringing that salon feel into that space. So there would be the adjoining room there, which was Art Room 2. That would be converted into the lecture area with 20 student desks as well as 20 nail stations. We'd be putting new flooring in there, new paint, the exhaust fan and ventilation to meet code for the nail salon, additional plumbing and infrastructure to support, additional electrical and infrastructure to support the hairstyling stations. So we've gotten pretty far on the cosmetology as well. Design specs have been completed. We held the pre-bid walkthroughs. We have the post-bid walkthroughs, we've identified the low bidder. The low bidder is a firm by the name of Axiom Construction at a cost of $380,700. There's some areas that will require abatement in this area, and there's some asbestos in there. We have to remove it in order to remodel. Some of you might know contractors don't do that. It's a totally separate firm. Contractors won't touch it. So Axiom Construction, that would be doing the construction, would not deal with the asbestos at all. We have a separate firm for that. Their cost is $16,000, bringing the total cost to $396,700 for that project. One more project to talk about. Any questions on cosmetology?
Trustee Serlini?
I'm sorry, where's the Cisco lab? I don't remember anything back in the day. Where
Sure. So the Cisco Lab's behind the gym on the corner, kind of by the weight room.
Got it. I think that used to be your auto shop. No auto shop?
Weight room was the other shop.
Okay, got it.
The old photography room, maybe? Is it across from the weight room?
Yes.
Okay, so the old photography.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to thank you on that presentation of the park, because the one thing that I always walked around whenever I saw cosmetology or hair salons was I always walk around because of the smell. So I'm glad I saw that there's venting.
Yeah, there's some very specific venting requirements when it comes to that nail procedure.
Thank you so much.
All right, no problem.
Anyone else? All right, moving forward.
All right, so one last construction project. This is a small project with some remaining ESSER dollars, but we feel it's an important one, and we want to do some improvements to the administration building. The reason we want to do some improvements to the administration building is staff is growing there. So staff is growing. We originally thought about putting some in Madison. That obviously didn't happen and didn't go through. Now we need to kind of house more folks in the administration building. So basically what that would entail is converting an existing copy room into an office space, because we need that additional office space now for additional employees. That would include removing a portion of the existing exterior masonry wall. We would add a window to that office, because if you remember, it's a copy room, no window in there, not much like an office. The ceiling is super nasty in there. We want to do a new ceiling with new lighting. All the lighting's missing the covers, and it's just stained and it's nasty, and we want to freshen it up. There would also be new HVAC grills, which are in the ceiling as well, and if we're replacing the ceiling, along with existing carpeting in the perimeter offices, so all the carpeting in the board office we're looking to replace, as well as in the lobby area. Also building a new drop soffit over the front counter to install a new window. Basically, that's when you first walk in there, the reception counter. We want to close that up with like a glass area there. I've attached some pictures for your review. You can see the ceiling there. It's just the old style. It's all stained up, and the lighting is not very good. So why do we want to do the improvements to the board office? So as I mentioned, a growing staff working out of the board office. That's kind of the first impression of the district, right? So when people come in to enroll their students, that's the first thing they see. We feel that's important. That's the first impression. It's very important. Safety and security. So sometimes we do get angry parents at the board office and that. And with that glass there, kind of separation, or anyone can just come to the board office, jump over the desk. So that's the idea there, to add that security at the reception area there. And the board office hasn't been updated in a long time. I've asked staff who have been there for a long time, hey, when was the last time the carpet was replaced? And no one knows. No one knows. They think it's more than 20 years.
If I can interject for 1 month, we are fortunate to have some members of our central office team that have been around for quite some time. We have one staff person, Ms. Leslie Davis, who actually is an Annapolis graduate, who has been working in the board office for, I was not going to say that, but 36 years. And it has not been updated in the time frame that she's been employed.
So yeah, we feel it's an important one. These women work year round on the board office, and I'm not going to say it's a small amount of money, but it's a small amount of money compared to our ESSER funds, right? So you're going crazy there, sorry. So not that I'm diminishing, it's a lot of money, right? It's I'll get to that slide yet, so you guys don't know how much money it is, but it's, with the construction and the abatement, it's $147,000. So I guess relative to our ESSER funds is what I'm trying to say there. $8 million, we're talking about $124,000. So these women work year round, we really want to get back to them. I already know what everyone's going to say about this project, I'm just going to come out and say it. They're going to say this doesn't directly impact kids. Right? I said it before anyone else can, so. But we disagree with that. We feel it does impact the kids, and this is the first impression. And these women bust their butts up there year round, so we'd really like to clean up the board office and do those improvements for them. So on the last page, I put kind of all of it together here of what you guys are going to see, because it's a lot of projects and it's a lot of resolutions and it's a lot of different contractors. So I kind of put in all of what you're going to see for your resolutions next week, just to make sure that we're communicating everything to you guys. So all the costs, where the money's being derived from, what all those resolutions will look like for next week. I think that's pretty much it. I'd be happy to take any questions.
All right, any questions from the board? Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board, Vice President Wallace?
Thank you. The only question I asked or wanted to know is the acoustic tiles, ceiling tiles for the copy room. Is that a different type of tile versus the rest of the tile in the board office?
You know, it's acoustic tiles in that room as well as the board office, and all of that would be replaced. In the exterior offices on the perimeter, you know, the outside offices there, it's already drop ceiling and new lighting, similar to what we want to do in the main board area. So the only place that we get the new ceiling and the new lighting would be the middle there, the board area, and that new copy room that we're converting to an office.
So they've all matched up.
Correct.
Exactly. Okay, thank you.
Good question, Mr. Wall.
Question. Other questions from the board, Secretary Wood?
I just want to know, what other projects are on the list for the ESSER funds? Or were these all of the ones, like, or did you say we don't have enough money, so we're not going to do certain projects?
This is it. This would be, I'm not a business manager, but I believe this would be the remainder of our ESSER funds.
So was there a certain thing that you were the rule, or certain things you could spend it on, like, so we couldn't spend it on the
That's
children?
correct. Yes.
Okay, so they were like
Allowable.
guidelines that you were allowed to spend it on certain things?
Allowable expenses, yes. Which these would call, of course, so we're in good shape there.
Okay. And what's the plan to put the air conditioner in the other buildings?
So we definitely see it as a priority. It's just a matter of funding. So I think that would be strongly considered in upcoming years.
That's it for me.
Any other questions from the board? Hearing none, from short? All right, sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Burke.
Thank you, everyone.
8E, financial update from Dr. Kissinger. Thank you, and welcome.
Good evening, my name is Dr. Maria Gistinger, and I'm here today to present the amended budget for your consideration. I would like to begin on page number 2, which is a graph of your revenues for the year. On the left side, we have our original budget that was approved in June of 23. And on the right side is the amended budget that I am recommending for the board to approve. You can see that we had originally budgeted.
Pardon me, Dr. Kissinger, it is exhibit number 1 in your board packet. Typically, it's labeled that way. I apologize for that. But it is exhibit number 1. He was sent to Giva electronically, this presentation? No? Okay.
So we're looking at the action.
The first, what's the title page? Yep. We all set? Thank you, please continue.
Page 2 is where I was at. So we had originally approved the budget in June of $34,400,000 for revenue, and that has increased to just over $35 million with our amended budget. You can see this is outlined by how we collect our money, whether it's local, state, federal grants, contributions from RESA with our Public Act 18 money, or transfers from other funds. And you can see that the majority of our funding comes from state sources, as we would expect. And on page 3 is a more detailed outline of our revenues from a line item perspective. We have our 21-22 actual performance in the far left column, and then we compare our original budget to our amended budget and outline the changes there. The big changes, I wasn't here to project your budget, so I'm not sure about your budgetary assumptions, but it appears that your foundation allowance and enrollment turned out larger than what was originally anticipated, which brought additional state aid to the district, roughly about $1.2 million. There's a little change in your ESSER funds because you only have so much to spend. As nice that our presentations are dovetailing, that Jason had mentioned, all of our ESSER funds are in the budget to spend. So we have $1.3 million of ESSER 3 funds, and we have $872,000 of ESSER 2 to spend during this year. And if those are spent, that will conclude our ESSER funding resources. On page 4, we get into expenditures. And we had originally budgeted $32,680,000 of expenditures, and in your amended budget, I'm recommending $34,363,000. You can see the increases there in the far column, as well as the majority of our expenditures are going into instruction, as one would expect, and our second largest expenditure category is instructional support. I'd like to direct you to the number on the amended budget of $34,363,906. And if you flip the page to page 5, you can see that the amended budget of $34,363,906 is there as well. But this is placed based on spending category. So page 4 had where we were spending it. Page 5 is showing you how we spend it. As you would expect, the majority of our expenditures are in salaries and benefits. We are in the business of people, and so all of our resources are mainly going to salaries and benefits. And you can see the changes in those categories in the increase and decrease column. Some of those shifts are related to how we're spending our big pots of money in our ESSER grant, originally placed in the budget in the supply area. We're now using them to replace roofs on buildings and things like that. So we're moving out of different categories. And moving on to the remaining pages in your budget packet, the far right columns are 21-22 actual. Then we have our original budget column, and then everything from there on over to the far left. You can see that we have the total column, and then we're showing you how we spend that money. Salaries, employee benefits, purchase service, supplies, capital outlay, and other. And if you flip to the very last page before we get into the function codes, along the bottom, you can see the total that we're spending in salaries, benefits, purchase service, supplies, capital outlay, and other, as well as a calculation of the percentage of total budget to salaries and benefits. We're using the expenditure as your denominator. We would be spending 79.3% of the district's budget on salaries and benefits. If we were using total revenue, it would be about 75.7% of overall expenditures compared to our revenue. And that concludes my presentation on your amended budget book.
Thank you, Dr. Kissinger. Are there any questions, comments from the board? Secretary Williams?
No.
I'm sorry, Secretary Williams, before you begin, I know how important it was to have Dr. Kissinger here today to explain and give a review of the budget. So if you have questions, this will be a great time to do so we can make sure that we understand everything clearly. All right, thank you.
So what I was asking for was like actual, more leaning towards the study session to explain how to read each of these documents. What she did was like super quick, as if you had already seen these documents before, you know exactly where to look. There was like a lot of numbers, and she rattled off some of them. I couldn't even find them on this document where there's like 80 numbers on here, and she rattled off like 4. So I was hoping that we were going to get some training on how to read the documents so we know where to look for different things, when they come up, because this is like as if we were a new board and we've never seen these documents before, not as if we had been here for 5 years. And that's kind of the presentation I felt like we got, it as if you were very familiar with these documents. But I am familiar with these documents from going to college, but, so I'll ask my question on page 4. For the instructional support, is there a reason that we didn't use the $600,000 towards?
So we had budgeted for a large number of ESSER expenditures in that category, but we had spent more ESSER 2 money last year than what we had put in our original budget. So we had to reduce that category to compensate for the offsetting revenue on the other side. That's a good question.
Okay, and then where does the extra like $2 million come from? So like, it was originally budgeted for $32 million, 680, and now we need $34 million. Where does the money come from?
So on the revenue side, we had originally budgeted for $34.4 million in revenue, and now we're getting just over on page 2. So we had originally budgeted for $34.4 million, and now it's gonna be $35 million, so there's an extra $600,000 in revenue to offset that. And if you look at the bottom of page 3, in the amended budget column, we'd originally budgeted to put $1.8 million into our fund balance, but that number is now going to be closer to $640,000 that we'll be placing into our fund balance. So our revenues exceed our expenditures, which is a good thing, but they don't exceed them as much as we had originally planned.
Any other questions from the board?
I just was still like the study session of it, or a different presentation that breaks down the documents, like at a different time, obviously not tonight.
If I'm remembering correctly, does NASB offer a course to be able to understand financial?
Yeah, I did that course, but it's about, it's like what I already know.
General.
What is the general ledger, what is this, like I already know that stuff. I wanna know D7 and D7's finances and how to read D7's pie charts and D7's general ledger.
And may I also comment too, in your board packet, every single month you get a financial statement that shows you your current operating position by fund. So that may be on your consent agenda, but that's several pages long and it's every fund in the district. So each month you're updated on where we stand from an actual perspective.
Thank you.
So I'm not saying that we don't have access to the information, I'm saying we don't have the training on how to read it.
No, that makes sense. I think you make your point very clear. It's a point of wanting to understand how to read it properly on your own. Thank you. Dr. Reed?
I was going to say that just to validate Trustee Willis's point that we can work toward maybe doing something more informative where we can spend some time unpacking actually how to read it.
And it can be done in the study session. Any other questions, comments from the board? To Dr. Gestinge? Trustee True.
Well, I just wanted to piggyback. I agree with what Leslie said. I want more. I need to understand what I'm looking at.
Understood. Do you have any, well, taking into what you're saying, but still, do you have any questions about this? Are you struggling to understand something?
No, I understood what they were saying. I understand. I just feel like I need more.
Understood. Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyone else? Vice President Walls?
My only question I would ask is with the ESSER amounts that are on the internet, do you see anything that's going to potentially be a problem the following year?
No, only because we're using them on one-time things that we're not going to be perpetuating into the future.
Perfect. Thank you.
Dr. Reese, anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay. Anything else from the board? All right, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Reese. Letter 8S, Board Treasurer Discussion. So I added this because Treasurer Nasser did announce her resignation, and to make an informed decision about who our next treasurer may be, I wanted to open the floor to kind of discuss and gather, is there anyone who would like to be in that role from our board? And if you would like to be in that role from our board, if you could briefly explain why. So again, you can make an informed decision.
And just so you know, if nobody does want to be treasurer, another officer can have double positions. I heard that through MASB.
Yeah, that
I don't
it
want
could
that,
be
I'm just
hard.
saying.
Yeah, it could be hard, but it wouldn't be unallowable, I guess. Thank you, Vice President Wong. Is there anyone interested? Any other discussion? All right, hearing none.
I have a discussion on this. So,
Yes.
we're not gonna have a treasurer?
We will see when it's time to open the floor for nomination.
Okay, so one of the things when we had picked the people to be on the finance committee, one of the things you said in your rationale was that because trustee Nasser was the treasurer, that was the reason you were picking her for that committee. So when we do get a treasurer, can we switch out her seat for the treasurer, so the treasurer is on that committee?
Trustee Nasser, can you speak to that? Is that?
Absolutely. Whoever's the treasurer can take that position and I can step off of that.
Again, to Mrs. Willis's point, I think it's a very valid point, but we don't want you to feel like you have to, that would be more of
No,
a.
I'm in full support.
All right, sounds good, thank you. Any other discussion?
I would like to say I am not interested in this position.
I appreciate that.
Strictly if nobody nominated me. Many reasons.
Okay.
One being kind of what Nadia said, I have a full-time job and lots of other things to attend to. So
Sounds good, thank you.
just being honest and
Thank you for your transparency. Again, is there anyone else who would either like to be or would not like to? All right, hearing none, moving forward. You would not like to be, okay? Trustee Ellisella would not like to be.
So I feel like I have to take it now, right?
No,
You don't.
I just needed some direction, so we're official.
Like, I made you girl. I don't want it to be stuck where somebody else is doing two positions. I've said other committees outside of the school, I support with the city, so.
Okay.
If it came down to it. I just would like to be able to fully dive into this,
I would dive into it though, not that I wouldn't do the task that I needed.
Okay. All right. Trustee Allen.
I just wanted to add, this isn't something that any of us are like gonna learn overnight. Regardless of what we have going on, it is a learning process and it's something that you have to master. I was in it a little bit last year, a little bit this year, and you have to spend a lot of time, but it's not something that we're gonna expect you know all of the answers tomorrow. So it is a learning process and we all know that we all are busy with our lives. So if anyone does decide to take it, we support it. Yeah, we support it and we're not gonna fully what's the answer? So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, sounds like there's no other discussion. Moving on to AG, Superintendent Updates, Dr. Weeks, State of the District Address.
I want to take the podium so I can present it, okay?
Yeah. I believe this is the first time receiving the State of the District Address.
Sorry?
I said I believe this is the first time the board has been presented with the State of the District Address. So thank you.
I'm honored to be the first. Good evening, Madam President, Board of Education, staff, and students, and members of the community. Like most local or municipality governments, there's typically some type of State of the District or union address that gives an update generally on the state of where we are right now in terms of progress and also about vision for the next steps. So I want to take this time to talk about where we are right now as we prioritize our steps moving forward to the future. So our district is committed to continuous improvement, and therefore we've identified 5 key areas that highlight what we call the state of the district. In each area, we are going to concentrate on how we can utilize our resources to make sure that we are adequately supporting our students, our staff, and moving the district in a progressive and positive direction. First and foremost, the priority is hiring the best. We have an exceptional staff here in Dearborn Heights number 7 that we appreciate, but we also know that in many areas, particularly at the high school and middle school, and even at the elementary levels for that degree, we are short in certain critical areas. And as a result of those shortages, we have a lot of staff that are actually working on their planning periods, and we have a lot of staff that are doing a lot of work that prohibits them from actually having the time they need to decompress sometimes, look at data, plan for lessons, and things of that nature. So we're going to be working, and I'm going to talk a little bit later on, with some of the community partners that we have from the post-secondary educational community that are working with us to ensure that we have access to the best and brightest. Dr. Finney and Dr. Porchella are going to be attending in the days ahead a career fair sponsored by the University of Michigan Dearborn, and we're also scheduled to do some work at Eastern Michigan University where we can kind of pick the best and brightest to come in and be a part of our staff. Student achievement is a critical part of the work that we do. Oftentimes in our roles, we do a lot of discussions around key decisions that impact the direction of the district, that impacts physical landscapes of the district, physical properties of the district, but we do all those things with one goal in mind: to improve the student academic experience of all of our kids, so that as they matriculate and move from grade to grade, upon graduation and leaving D7, they're prepared not just for the careers of today, but for the careers of tomorrow. That our kids are whole, they understand how to navigate spaces, they're critical thinkers, they understand how to solve problems, and that is the work that we are doing. So we're working in collaboration with our building leaders, so that all of our building leaders are also instructional leaders. Our staff partner, our central office leaders, in collaboration with our building leaders, are going through a process right now called instructional walkthroughs. And the best way I can describe that is I use the analogy in the medical field. Oftentimes when there's a new procedure that comes into a hospital, some cutting edge work that goes on in the medical field, doctors will collaborate together and then they will circulate and see a procedure and then begin to adopt that process. We know we have phenomenal things happening here in D7, so we want to make sure that when our principals are walking through classrooms, that they're seeing things through the same lens, so that they can identify highly effective instruction, so that when they're working in collaboration with teachers, they're pulling out the best of their teachers and making sure that all of us are moving forward in a very singular fashion. Our administrators are also being trained in the upcoming months on what we call inter-rater reliability, so that we can make sure that all of our building level administrators are pretty consistent with how they understand the evaluation process. We know that we are fortunate. We are very fortunate here in Dearborn Heights number 7 to have a very growing population, and also a very growing population of diverse students. So to ensure that all of our staff are prepared and equipped with the skills needed to meet kids where they are and support all kids from diverse backgrounds, we are working with our building level administrators and also developing PD opportunities for the 23-24 school year around culturally competent training. We are also working with some outside groups on what we call re-engagement strategies. So some of the members of the community and some of our members of our Board of Education who are new to the board may have not been around when we had a presentation, I think it was back in December of 2022, from a company called Concentric Educational Solutions. Concentric is a company that is grounded under the idea of re-engagement through the prism of wellness checks. So some of our families may have received letters in the mail asking about, would you be willing to allow for us to come and check on your students? So that is an optional thing that families can participate in. But it's beneficial to us as a school community, because when we have young people who have consistent days out of school, then Concentric can do a home visit, not from the standpoint of being intrusive, but just to verify what's going on and how can we support. They report back to us as a school community what they find out, and then we can center supports around ways that we can re-engage kids. Kids can't learn if they're not in school. So that is part of the reason why we're doing the work with Concentric. Dr. Finn's going to talk a little bit about some of our academic work when she comes up to the podium, but all the things that we do are centered around data. We pride ourselves on being a data-driven district, and we're going to continue to do that work. The decisions that we make are based upon data. If we're doing a certain pivot academically, if we are infusing certain structures at the high school and middle school, even at the elementary level, that's based upon data, not based upon the things that we believe, but based upon research and data. So as we talk about systematizing structures at our high school, middle school, and elementary school, it's so that teachers can work more effectively together so we can get the outcomes that we're looking for. And we're also looking to restructure our summer school program. Prior to COVID, there was a shift where most of our summer school programs at the secondary level, middle school and high school, were pretty much centered around one modality of instruction. And that was through programs such as Edgenuity 2020, which is an online platform. So as a former summer school teacher myself, when I first started my career, I taught summer school for almost 7 straight years. I also was a building level administrator over summer school programs for nearly 8 years. We don't want our young people to solely receive one methodology of instruction during summer school, such as sitting in front of a computer. We want to relinquish teachers to actually teach during summer school because we know that young people are able to engage in different ways when they're actually being taught by engaging instructors. I'm going to ask for my colleague, Dr. Finn, to come up and talk a little bit about our student achievement data. I'll lower the microphone a little bit.
Good evening. In the state of Michigan, student achievement is measured by students' performance on standardized tests. And for the state of Michigan, we have 3 standardized tests: the MSTEP, the PSAT, and the SAT. On the screen on your handout, you'll see our district's performance on the MSTEP for grades 3 through 11 in the subjects of ELA, math, science, and social studies. And there's a few things that I'd like to point out for you. As you notice for ELA, grades 3 and 4, we're showing some growth in those 2 particular grade levels. I just wanted to know also we're only looking at beginning at 2020-21 school year because that is after the pandemic when we resume face-to-face instruction. But in grades 5, 6, and 7, we are not seeing any growth in those areas. For math, actually we are seeing growth in grades 4 through 6 from compared to 2021 to 2022. But in our other grades, unfortunately, we are not seeing growth, but just a small decline. In science, both grades 5 and 8 are actually up. And in social studies, we saw improvement in grade 5, but unfortunately for grade 11, students' performance decreased. But overall, we do notice that we are below the state average, and so we really want to work with improving our teaching and our resources that we provide to our teachers and our students so that we can help increase those scores. But overall, if you look at grade 4, they are definitely showing a steady growth from year to year in all 4 of the content areas. For grade 8, students take the PSAT, and they take it in 2 areas. EBRW stands for evidence-based reading and writing, and in math. And as you can see from the data, there's been an increase in both the evidence-based reading and writing and math for our 8th grade. So we are making progress with our 8th graders as well. But as I mentioned before, we are still performing below the state average in both those areas. And then finally, for the 11th grade, they take the SAT. And I want to point out I did make a typo in the math for the 2021-2022 school year. The SAT benchmark should be 530, not 11. But one of the things that I wanted to point out for the SAT is that there has been a decline for evidence-based writing and a decline for our math, so we do need some work in those areas as well. So I wanted to mention some of the next steps that we're taking to improve what is going on in teaching and learning. And so some of the next steps are is that we're currently working with schools to review their school data. We have convened a district level school improvement team, and we're working with schools to analyze their data, to identify patterns and trends, and use what they've learned from their data to drive the development of their school improvement plans. Also, you may recall in February, schools presented a mid-year progress report. So in June, the schools will be doing another presentation for their final progress for the end of the year progress. And then the last thing that I wanted to mention is, along with the instructional walk, one of the things that we're doing also is we're working with Wayne Reeser to do a curriculum audit review. We want to ensure that teachers have access to a guaranteed viable curriculum, because what we know is that when we have a guaranteed viable curriculum, that ensures that students have a better chance of performing much better on standardized tests. So that is my presentation.
And although we know that the standardized assessments are a part of the framework of public schools, we are in no way saying that we believe that standardized assessments are the only way to show growth or proficiency. Part of our training, part of our work that we're going to be embarking on with our teachers is on developing multiple modalities of assessing students. Some kids may demonstrate learning more kinesthetically, they may be more project-based. So there's various ways that young people can show their learning as opposed to only showing it through traditional paper and pencil. So we're also working to do more work in that area as well. So as I referenced before, we have a very growing, very changing demographic of young people, and we recognize as a result of that there's some importance that we have to commit to around diversity, equity, and inclusion. So as we work with our consultants with Wayne Reeser, you're going to hear us talk more about student voice opportunities. What you see here at the board level is an important example of young people actually exercising their voices. And you're also seeing that when you have caring adults that are willing to listen, that change can actually happen. Some of the things that happen here at the board level, I think that sometimes we take for granted, that when we have young people come and present to the Board of Education a concept around a project, and then for the adults to listen and then infuse that project into what we do, that's a testament to D7. So as Chris Simpson spoke about earlier from Chartwells, young people came here and spoke about a project, we listened, we changed, and we infused something differently. We're also going to be doing some work. Mr. Perkins did some work with a group that's going to be allowing for us, I believe, I don't want to say the word free, but I do believe that you talked about those pilot classrooms for, is free the right word, or?
No.
Free is not the right word.
I'm going to say deeply discounted.
Deeply discounted is a better phrase. So we are going to be doing some different things at the high school where we're identifying some classrooms to have some different class seating, different chairs, different tables, more ergonomically centered, more fluid-based, where young people are not restricted to the traditional wooden chairs as we have here at Annapolis High School. So we're looking forward to doing that. I believe before, I don't want to say time frame, but I know that is something that we're working on.
Yes, very soon.
Okay, very soon, very soon. We're also going to be administering a perception survey to our students. We care about what students believe. We care about what students are saying. So we want to be able to, we are going to be administering a grade 3 through 12 survey during this month that young people are going to be able to answer a battery of questions about their experiences. And like all things, we'll take that data, we'll look at ways that we can continue to enhance their experiences through the work that we do. And through the work with Wayne Reese, we're also hoping that we can move in a direction where every building will have its own equity team. It's going to drive culture and climate within the district. Safety and security is important. We all know that we live in a very unique time in our nation. We live in a very unique time in public education. And some things are becoming so consistent with our public schools that we have to make sure that we're doing things that are intentional around ensuring that the climate and safety of our schools and support that we provide to our young people is always appropriate, and that we are working in a very safe environment. So we're very close to completing, I think, the next board meeting. We're going to be able to present our district safety plan to you all, so you can see that. We're very close to completing our emergency operation plan, which is a state requirement. We're also working very closely with our director of special education around different SEL supports, in addition to the work that we're doing already. We've implemented a new ALICE process this year where, in addition to our ALICE training where we work with all the staff, we also are partnering with the Dearborn Heights Police Department, where our SRO, with his partners from the department, are actually participating with those ALICE drills, so that when a school has an ALICE drill, they're actually going to be observing that process, providing constructive critique, and then talking about ways that they can enhance that. We also applied for a grant, and we received the grant. It's a 97C fund grant. We received $12,000 from the state of Michigan, and that allows for us to pay for a risk assessment for each of our schools. So we're going to be moving that work forward in the very near future. And I want to thank my colleague, Dr. Maria Kissinger, for being here to talk about the financial health of the district. We are in a very strong position financially within the district. That's a testament to the work that our teachers are doing. It's a testament to the work that the Board of Education is doing to support our system. And we are continuing to enroll students, and we're also continuing to retain kids. So as we retain and grow our district, our financial health and stability continues to sustain and be a part of our future today and our future to come. And that is it for that presentation.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Serena, on you first. Sorry, Lozowski.
I have a question in regards to student achievement. So I don't know if Dr. Weeks, if you want to answer this, or Dr. Finney does. You said we're going to be doing a curriculum audit review. I know that it's been mentioned a few times about the math curriculum and looking at the math scores. When are we looking at, going to start looking at new curriculum? Is this going to happen after the audit?
So the audit is the first step. Mm-hmm. The audit gives us an understanding about where we are, what we have, what we're doing, where we are devoting resources, what resources are actually getting the outcomes that we want, and which ones are not. And then we begin the process of working with teachers to identify new curriculum resources.
Thank you. And then my next question was actually for Dr. Finney. And this is in regards to the re-engagement strategies, Concentric. They presented at a December board meeting. I remember the presentation. I remember the board voted on it. The communication that went out did not clearly state what entailed, and it went out to every student. My understanding was it was only supposed to go to students who were considered in need of re-engagement strategies, doing well checks, students who had high attendance deficiencies. So I just wanted to know if you could clarify, please, Concentric is being used for every family, or Concentric is being used for families of students with excessive absences?
So the reason why it went out to all families is because it's not a static list, I say. Students that are chronically absent could have one student that may be at 5 this month, but then 2 months down the line, they may be at 10. So it went out to the entire district so that families could have the option of opting out of the service in totality. So it went out to everyone because the eligible students will be changing. If that makes sense.
So we have no way of predicting when the student's going to have absenteeism.
Exactly.
So it goes out to everybody. So that everybody knows the service we're providing. Your student, if they have high absenteeism, could benefit from this service. So we have no way of predicting who's going to have high absenteeism.
Okay. We can come back to this. Any more other questions about that particular thing? It doesn't really have to do with the state of the district, but I have more questions about the re-engagement strategies Concentric and the communication that went out. Should I save that for other business?
I would suggest yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board? Secretary Williams?
Well, if we're doing it under other business, that was part of my question was why wasn't it opt-in versus an opt-out?
Exactly.
But I can save it for other business. My other question is for the surveys. I know that you're doing the survey for the students for the climate, but would you be open to doing a survey for the teachers, asking them for ideas to support whatever work they're trying to do to increase the scores? It seems like we should take the feedback from them and then create programs around what they say they need to make the scores go to the Michigan State average that we're trying to reach for the MSTEP.
So that's a great question. So the student perception survey is more centered around their experiences as students in D7. So what you're suggesting is more of a survey to staff regarding ways that we can improve the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
So we are getting ready to embark on a second iteration, actually it's the third go around now on listen and learn tool. So our entire central office team are going to be attending staff meetings throughout the district and talking with staff about the things that are working, the things that we can enhance as a school system. And then Dr. Finney's going to be leading some small focus groups that are going to be a part of that new development of the new resources.
Also to add on, Trustee Lewis, last week I sent to the administrators a survey to go to the teachers. And this survey is about school processes, district processes. And so there's like 26 different indicators that we're asking teachers feedback on whether they believe that we are at the initiation phase, we're partially implemented, fully implemented, so that we can use that data to continue with our school improvement plan.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure because I know we're doing a lot of like the department chairs and the coaches based on these numbers. So I just want to make sure there's some way for the teachers to get input on what they think
That's a great question.
is needed for the students or just for themselves to be better,
And that is exactly what we're doing. So part of our district improvement team, we meet with teachers on a monthly basis along with administrators. This past week, Dr. Finney led some sessions with an elementary team and a secondary team at reviewing data. Next month, we start talking about intervention and resources. So that is,
everybody, or is it like a?
so that's the school improvement teams from all of our schools that they represent their schools.
Okay.
So each school improvement team might have a composite of 4 or 5 teachers that meet with us along with their administrators on a monthly basis. And then they represent the body of the teachers from their respective schools. So this month we look at data, next month we talk about interventions and resources.
Any other questions?
Just my last one was about the, I might be confused, is the same, so we already have a process started with Wayne Risa to address curriculum as it relates to DEI and B, right?
Sorry?
We have something going on with Wayne Risa that's supposed to be addressing curriculum as it relates to DEI and B, right?
DEI and B?
Diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. So, we already have work that's already started with Wayne Risa, right? So this is not the same curriculum work that you're saying is starting from an audit.
So the work with Wayne and Risa is on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The curriculum audit that's about what kids are learning in class.
So it's two separate.
Those are 2 separate things.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we don't start all the way over with it.
No.
That's it for me.
Before we go back to you, Trustee Gotowski, is there any other board member who has a question about the presentation? Sir?
They're doing good.
Okay.
Dr. Weeks, the survey, the perception survey, is that going to be done at home, or is it something that we're going to let the students do at school?
Kids are going to do it in school.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. And early middle college summer camp under your superintendent update.
Okay. So our counselors at the middle school and high school, along with the building of the leaders at the middle school and high school, have done a yeoman task of working to develop a criteria to identify students that are going to be eligible for what we are calling the Rising Scholar Initiative. Essentially, the Rising Scholar Initiative is the composite of 2 programs that we are running concurrently beginning the 23-24 school year. You heard last year we talked about the D7 promise. That's the work that we're doing with the University of Michigan Dearborn, where our high school seniors, those seniors that are with us for 4 years, beginning in 9th grade, they graduate after the 12th grade year, who meet the academic criteria as well as the SAT criteria, will receive financial aid to go directly to the University of Michigan Dearborn. That is one program. The second program is our early middle college program in partnership with Henry Ford College. Both of these are college access programs that we're calling the Rising Scholars Initiative. So I want to start there. The difference between the University of Michigan Dearborn program is that the young people who choose the track of being in the Henry Ford College program will begin taking classes in the 9th grade taught by college level instructors that will be working with them from the high school in the 9th grade and 10th grade, and then during their junior year begin taking classes on the campus of Henry Ford College. Junior year, senior year, and 13th year will be on the campus of Henry Ford College. Upon the completion of that program, those young people will receive a high school diploma and an associate's degree. Those young people that want to continue in their education then will be able to transition over to the University of Michigan Dearborn and then complete their bachelor's degree. We call that a 2-2-2 program. Okay, so I'm going to start there. So part of the foundation of this program is to address some of the systemic inequities that young people experience in school. We know we have talented young people, but there's research that talks about underserved and underrepresented populations. Those young people that might be ethnic minorities, students from economically disadvantaged communities, or first-generation students have the access to take these classes, but aren't always encouraged to take these courses. and aren't always provided with the appropriate classes to prepare them for the rigor of these courses. So this program is designed to provide those type of supports intentionally by identifying those kids and then providing them with the support beginning during the year they transition from 8th grade to 9th grade and over the course of 4 to 5 years. So underserved is defined as traditionally, underserved is defined here as students who are ethnic minorities and or come from low socioeconomic background and who are educationally disadvantaged based on high stakes test scores. Underrepresented is defined as a group whose percentage of the population within that group is lower than the percentage within the national population. So meaning we have young people who are a composite of our school district that although we provide these resources, aren't always taking advantage of the courses that we provide them. So we know that young people, they're more likely to go off to college and be successful when they take certain classes. But for them to take those courses, we must prep them with the skills to be able to be successful in those classes. Currently, we offer what we call this the V7 college pathways. So we talk about college readiness. It is a combination of the core academic knowledge, skills, and the habits that young people need to be successful. So college readiness is not always centered on how kids do on standardized assessments. That's one predictor, not the only predictor. But there are other ways that we can identify and prepare young people to be college ready, such as creating a college culture. That's some of the work that we're doing at the high school around creating a college culture, around strong study habits, and around preparing them through various supports to ensure that upon the completion of 4 or 5 years, that they have the skills they need. Here's a sample program model that talks about what is needed for young people to actually progress within a traditional high school environment in order to be successful within high school and then also in transition to the next level. The problem that we have is that oftentimes young people lack the rigor in certain classes, okay? So the solution we have is by providing supplemental curriculum opportunities that could take place after school, could take place during weekends, or take place during the summer. So we're going to talk about a summer bridge program where a select group of young people, based upon, I think we have identified about 40 students who are going to be taking part in this first iteration of the program. Those young people are identified based upon PSAT scores, MSTEP scores, as well as teacher recommendations. So the first group of kids going through this program are comprised of 40 students from OWS. And then I'm going to talk about the intervention that's going to take place during the summertime. When we bring the young people starting this summer, they're going to take part in courses that are taught by teachers using what is called a pre-AP strategy or pre-AP strategies. So AP are our advanced placement courses. Advanced placement courses are designed by the College Board, which is the organization that writes the SAT. So when young people take advanced placement classes and are successful in those classes are a predictor for college readiness. They're one predictor for college readiness. So one of the systems that the College Board has provided is through a curriculum called Pre-AP. Pre-AP is not content, it's a way of learning. It's strategies to learn. So it's preparing teachers on how to infuse pre-AP strategies into their classes. So how pre-AP prepares students for AP? First, it talks about a framework. Not necessarily content, but a framework. It helps students build strong foundational skills in order to be successful in AP classes. It's more performance tasks where young people and students and teachers can evaluate student performance in ways not provided by multiple choice assessments. So again, we're trying to provide high-level instruction that's not centered on evaluating kids solely based upon a traditional paper and pencil assessment. And then Pre-AP also promotes equity. It is a class that can eventually be taught to all students at Annapolis High School. We're starting off with a small pilot group, but every student can take pre-AP classes. For example, in the Southfield Public Schools, every student that goes through their high school, beginning in the 9th grade, are exposed to pre-AP classes. It's a part of the curriculum. So this Rising Scholars Program is being designed to create a culture of success at our high school, so that when young people come in who are part of that program, they become champions, where they're talking about college is a part of the work that we do. When I was a student coming up in high school, I was a part of a program called Upward Bound. Upward Bound was in collaboration with Wayne State University. I was a first generation college graduate for my family, and there were specific supports that were provided to students who were Upward Bound kids. We are replicating that through this Rising Scholars Program. And I talked earlier about this two-tiered approach through the University of Michigan Dearborn and Henry Ford College. So our University of Michigan Dearborn students will begin taking pre-AP classes during the 9th grade and 10th grade year. Some of those kiddos during the 9th grade actually have access to an AP course through a pilot program that we are involved in with College Board. That program is computer science, correct? Mm-hmm. It's a computer science course we're going to be offering next school year, where young people can begin taking an AP class in the 9th grade. Through the University of Michigan Dearborn program, the kiddos that decide to go into that track, during their 11th grade year, they will be eligible to participate in an international study abroad program. I'm meeting with the University of Michigan Dearborn tomorrow to talk about what that might look like. So U of M has satellite schools across the globe. And our young people that are taking part in this program during their junior year will be eligible for an international trip to another country. And then during their senior year, those students will be responsible for completing a capstone project, which will be a thesis. And then eligible students, when they graduate, will have financial assistance to attend the University of Michigan Dearborn. The students on the Henry Ford track will begin taking college-level courses during the 9th grade year. And then upon their junior year, be eligible to take classes at Henry Ford College. And as I stated earlier, upon graduation after their 13th year, the year following 12th grade, those young people will receive both a diploma and an associate's degree. So here's the summer program at a glance. So we're going to be meeting with families. We've invited all those families to a parent meeting that's going to take place here in this meeting room on August the 12th from 6 to 7 p.m. The Board of Education, you all are welcome to come and witness that meeting. We will have members from the University of Michigan Dearborn here, as well as Henry Ford College. They're going to be talking about their continued support of us. And then when the young people at the end of that meeting will have an opportunity to opt into the program. So we are basically telling them that this is an opportunity. They do not have to participate. We're encouraging them to participate based upon what we talked about today. But it is a really big commitment that the young people are going to be taking part in. And some of that begins this summer with a 2-week program that's going to begin July 24th through August the 3rd from 8 to 1 p.m. The kiddos are going to receive breakfast and lunch each day. And during that time frame, they will be taught history, English, math, and social studies, not to earn credit, but to begin the process of understanding what pre-AP looks like, what the rigor of a pre-AP class would look like. They'll begin that this summer. We have a 3-day conference scheduled from August the 7th through August the 9th at Camp Machindo in Hillsdale, Michigan. That is an overnight camp. I have a brief video I'm going to show you. I have done this camp many years in previous districts. So I'm going to show the board what that experience looks like for the young people so that you can see it for yourselves. They'll have a 1-day college campus visit where they will attend University of Michigan Dearborn. During one part of the day, we'll have lunch, and then they'll attend Henry Ford College in the second part of the day so we can kind of get them excited about what college looks like. They'll have a service learning project on August the 14th, and then it will culminate in a summer program activity where we will do a field trip somewhere, like to a museum, something like that, on August 15th. So I wanted to queue up a really brief video for the board to see, but in order for you to see it, I need you all to stand up and take these front seats. If you would be so kind to do that.
We just have the board meetings out here.
That goes for you too as well. So what you're going to see is,
You better stay right there.
what you're going to see is a really quick video experience of the camp that we did some years ago when I worked in a previous district. I've had a chance to kind of implement this program in other places. I've seen this work, and I believe wholeheartedly in the work that it does. Is there volume to it?
Is there any way to increase the volume? No.
The traditional way. Oh, it's TV. It's TV. It's TV. Turn it up.
You will never learn the truth about anything if you only read what's in
Just that good. He's been just that good.
But the idea is that you can pick up something from somebody else that helps you to adapt to your study.
I fight you, I fight myself, I fight God, just tell me how many murders left. I fight hero. Who in the front lines at ground zero? My heart don't skip a beat even when hard times bumps the needle. Mass destruction and mass corruption. The souls of suffering men. Clutching on deaf ears again.
After 10 years, no news but a whore in the shade. Yet the minutes of the years,
What has the camp been like so far this weekend for you?
Well, going into this, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I had a lot of different emotions. I wasn't sure how this was going to go. We had a lot of different people coming from a lot of different places, but after all this time with them, I realized that it's been a really good experience. Like, I've learned so much from all these people, and I really do feel like I've changed myself in ways, and I hope I found some way to influence them as well.
We learn each other and learn how to speak up and voice your opinions and having trust of your peers. And I walk around school, I can feel like I'm learning something instead of being like I know other people's stories.
I would say I'm grateful for just all the stuff that we've bonded on together as a group. We've created bonds on stuff that relates
for you.
Well, before we left, I was really hesitant because I didn't know what to expect, didn't know how the group was going to go. But as time passed and my group got a lot closer, I really enjoyed my experience and I've learned a lot from my group. And my group's full of like underclassmen and freshmen, people who I've never actually talked to in school, and it's nice to see their life from a different point of view.
So it was a great experience, and I would love to do it again.
You guys should just have the meetings down here. You guys come down.
Thank you, board, for indulging me and allowing for me to present that. Thank you for the question. So,
Oh my
So this particular group that I did when I was in a different district was based upon the goals for that school district. The kiddos that are being invited to this camp experience through the early middle college program at the University of Dearborn are a very diverse group of students, but this camp experience is based upon the needs of that school district. So again, the parent meeting is going to be on April the 12th from 6 to 7 p.m. here at Annapolis High School, and that is it for my presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. Any questions or comments from the board regarding the presentation for Rising Scholars? Vice President Wall?
Just had two. One, the 3-day conference retreat, is that kind of what that was about?
That was.
Okay,
so the kiddos do that during the summertime because when we start the school year, they're actually placed in cohort groups to stay with each other. So oftentimes when young people take very rigorous classes and they're by themselves, they may not always stay in those classes when they're by themselves, but when they're with another peer or two other peers, they're more likely to stay. So we do bonding activities over the summer, skill development, study skills, testing strategies, and then we place those kids in cohorts when school starts during the 9th grade year.
Okay, and then I have one last question. With regards to the two-tier approach, by the way, thank you for breaking that down. I like that. The international study, which I know you need to get more information about, but do you know who would be covering the cost of that, or is that something you'll think?
So the kids are going to cover the cost of that, and this is how they're going to do it. The young people who are going to be a part of the University of Dearborn track will begin fundraising during their 9th grade year. So they'll be involved in 3 years of fundraising because the trip is going to cost, typically it costs a couple dollars, and we know a lot of our families don't always have the economic means to do that. But that's why we do fundraising with the young people beginning during their 9th grade year. And then they accumulate funds over 3 years to allow for them to go on that experience.
And with that fundraising, would that be something the parents are holding the money, or would that be something that the district would hold for the students?
The district would hold that money for the students.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Trustee Belkowski?
Thank you. For the two-tiered approach, I have a question. If a student decides that they're doing, that they want to go the Henry Ford route, and then partway through they think, wow, you know what, this is really awesome, and I can do this, can they switch and go to the U of M Dearborn route, or vice versa?
We have not said that is not a possibility. We want to make sure that the kids, regardless of which program they're in, they graduate and they're college bound.
Okay.
So that's the goal.
And then the second question has to do with the camp, with the retreat. I noticed that I asked President Gator, I said, that's all boys.
Correct.
This is not going to be.
This is not all boys. It's a very diverse group of students. But that experience is based upon the needs of that school district.
Okay, Secretary Reynolds.
Mine is, I guess it's on the two-tier slide too, but it's about the financial assistance for U of M. Is it enough to cover the full tuition, or is it based on each person's individual FAFSA?
So they break it down based upon the financial needs of the family, and then they scaffold that based upon the financial needs of the family. But they have essentially said that for students who come from a district where a significant portion of our kids qualify for free or reduced lunch, that there's a high probability that a significant portion of the tuition will be covered.
Okay. And then for the international study abroad program, will we be notified, updated if they don't have enough money? Because I would hate one of our kids not to go because of money, considering that we are a low income district.
So you'll receive updates from me about the progress of all these things. So the goal is for the young people when they're in this program for all of them to go.
Okay.
So we want to make sure that if they are in this program, that they attend.
Okay, because I don't know what our process is for spending money.
We will not spend any district funds on that program.
Okay, so we wouldn't be able, you know how we would donate to the all-night party, so we could not donate to a kid and send them to this international study.
Trustee Loomis, if you want to donate to a family, we will gladly take your donation.
Okay, but we couldn't as a board donate to the
I would have
family.
to look at policy for that.
Okay.
I would hope that concludes the questions from the board, but if not, there's one more. Okay, thank you, board. Thank you, Dr. Lee. In hearing from the board in past meetings, when we have had particularly long meetings, the board has asked that we take a brief recess to handle any personal matters. At this time, I think it would be a good point in our agenda to do so. If the board needs to take a short recess, I can accept the motion to do so. Well, someone has to state the time, how many minutes?
I would like to put a motion on the table that we take a 5-minute break.
Okay, motion by trustee Bukowski, is there support? Supported by Vice President Wall. Is there discussion? All right, Secretary Reynolds, roll call please.
Trustee Delini? Yes. Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Reynolds? Yes. Trustee Sala?
Yes.
Trustee Bukowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nasser? Yes. Trustee Garrett?
Yes, motion carries. See you all back at the table at 10:13. Thank you for that. Supported by Vice President Wall. Is there discussion? Roll call please.
Trustee Delini? Yes. Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Reynolds? Yes. Trustee Sala?
I can hear her, so she can hear me, so we want to go.
Trustee Nasser? Yes. Trustee Garrett?
Yes, motion carries. Agenda item number 9 under superintendent's reports. It's a motion on the table for department chairs. Be resolved that the Board of Education approves the creation of department chairs for OWS Middle School and Annapolis High School. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by trustee Nasser. Is there support? Supported by trustee Abu Salah. Is there discussion? Vice President Wall.
Yeah, my only question I would ask is, prior to the last meeting, we talked about just wanting to know if there were other options of, besides chairs. I think it was something that was mentioned. That was my only question with regards to this.
Yes, sir, Vice President Wall. There are some other things that we're considering. These are more long-term. We are going to be presenting to the board during the month of May on some things that could impact the landscape of our schools quite significantly. But it's more toward the, there's some discussions that we have to have on Monday with some of our teachers in the elementary school, and we're looking at some things that are really going to be impactful during the possible 24-25 school year. But there are some things we're working on right now.
Any other discussion from the board? Trustee Sterling?
So I just want to make a comment. I'm not against these, maybe for future, but right now I just feel like we're too small, too little to warrant these.
Point of order, please. So I do understand that you wanted to maybe echo why you're not going to vote in a certain way for this. But I would like for us to just have discussion and ask in terms of like questions that can help you make an informed decision. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't trying, I just didn't want anybody to be blindsided.
Understood.
That's what I just didn't want.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions from the board to help us make an informed decision on this matter?
Did you get a chance to talk with the unions about the department chairs? What was the feedback?
Dr. Lee?
Trustee Williams, yes, we met with the union representatives on Tuesday. We have another meeting with them on Monday of next week, and we are moving very close toward the development of LOU in collaboration with the union.
Does that complete the board's questions? Okay, Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Trustee Sterling? No. Trustee Wall?
No.
Trustee Leslie? Trustee Willis? No. Trustee Sala?
No.
Trustee Bertowski? No. Trustee Nasser? No. Trustee Gay?
No. Motion carries, but that the board action is to not move forward in the
Motion fails, not you.
Sorry, motion failed, it was supported, and, sorry, motion failed. Agenda item 9B, motion on the table for instructional coaches. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the addition of 2 K-5 instructional coaches. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Trustee Nasser, is there support?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Abdul-Salah, is there a discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Wall?
No.
Trustee Willis? No. Trustee Sala?
Yes.
Trustee Bertowski? No. Trustee Nasser?
No.
Trustee Sterling? No. And Trustee Gay?
No. Motion failed. C, amended budget, 2023 amended budget, which is exhibit number 1. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the budget revisions for the 2022-23 school year as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Vice President Walls. Is there support? Supported by Trustee Nasser. Is there a discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Willis? I'll go with you last. Trustee Sala?
I'm sorry, what was that, Secretary Willis?
No. Trustee Sala?
Yes.
Trustee Bertowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nasser?
Yes.
Trustee Sterling? No. Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Gay?
Yes. Motion carries. Letter D, Board Treasurer resignation, exhibit number 2. Be resolved that the Board of Education accepts Nadia Nasser's resignation as Board Treasurer effective April 5th, 2023 as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Vice President Walls. Or support? Supported by Trustee Bilkowski. Is there a discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Sala?
Yes.
Trustee Bertowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nasser?
Yes.
Trustee Sterling?
Yes.
Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Willis? Yes. Trustee Gay?
Yes. Motion carries. Letter E, election of treasurer. Are there any nominees for treasurer?
I nominate Tanya Sterling.
All right. Tanya Sterling, nominated by Secretary Winless. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Okay. I would need a motion to close the nominations for the office of treasurer and to elect Tanya Sterling to be in that role. Supported by,
I support.
supported by trustee Bilkowski, motion by trustee Bilkowski, supported by trustee Gonzalez. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Bilkowski.
Yes.
Trustee Gator.
Yes.
Trustee Nasser.
Yes.
Trustee Serene. Yes. Trustee Wall.
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Excel.
Yes, motion carries. Congratulations. Letter S, Annapolis High School drafting CAD class field trip exhibit number 3. Be resolved that the Board of Education approves the Annapolis High School drafting CAD class 60 feet in the 2023 Michigan Design and Build Bridge Challenge, April 26 through 27, 2023, in Lansing, Michigan, as presented. Is there a motion? So moved by Vice President Wall. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Trustee Bilkowski. Is there discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
They did this in the prior year. They came in with the bridge in it. So I hope again they do great and look forward to hopefully seeing the bridge.
All right. Any other comment or questions?
Just the same thing, I wanted to say congratulations on the progress they made so far, and just wish them luck in the journey that they have ahead of them.
Very nice. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Trustee Serene?
Yes.
Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Excel? Yes. Trustee Bilkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nasser?
Yes.
Trustee Gator?
Yes, motion carries. Letter G, 2023 Summer Camp, exhibit number 4. Be it resolved that the Board of Education approves the 2023 Dearborn Heights School District number 7 Summer Camp as presented. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Support.
All right. Motion by trustee Bilkowski, supported by trustee Abusala. Is there a discussion? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Excel?
Yes.
Trustee Bilkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nasser?
Yes.
Trustee Serene? Yes. Trustee Gator?
Yes, motion carries. Letter H, certified staff appointment, exhibit number 5. Be resolved that the Board of Education accepts the certified staff appointment of Neriman Jawar, elementary ESL teacher, effective March 20, 2023, as presented. Is there a motion? So moved by trustee Abusala. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Vice President Wall. Is there a discussion? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Williams, yes. Trustee Excel?
Yes.
Trustee Bilkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nasser?
Yes.
Trustee Serene?
Yes.
Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Gator?
Yes, motion carries. Letter I, 2023 Ohio Alliance of Black School Educators, exhibit number 6. Be resolved that the Board of Education approves Dr. Weeks to attend the OABSE, Ohio Alliance of Black School Educators, Midwest Regional Education Conference in Columbus, Ohio, April 21st through the 22nd, 2023, at an estimated cost to the district of $500 as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by trustee Nasser. Is there support?
Support.
Supported by Vice President Wall. Is there a discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
Just hope that you just give us something from the Wilton Conference.
I'm actually presenting. I was asked to present.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yes.
All right, bring us a good effect. Thank you so much. Is there any other discussion? Roll call,
I
please.
just have a question. How many, is there a set amount of conferences that we're supposed to approve? Like, or is it just as many? I'm just asking because I don't know. Like, how many, because I'm not used to seeing this many conferences on the agendas like in the past. And the historical superintendents, I've never seen so many conferences like almost every other month. So I'm just wanting to make sure that we're doing our due diligence as far as how many conferences we're supposed to approve.
I appreciate that. This is pretty standard for school superintendents. You just happen to have one that presents, who actually presents, but it's pretty standard.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
So, yeah, I do have another question. So, you are a presenter, but you're not attending the conference at all?
I'm attending and presenting.
Oh, you're attending and presenting. Okay, I was about to ask what we're paying for if you're just presenting. But okay, that's it.
Okay, roll call.
Trustee Excel?
Yes.
Trustee Bilkowski?
Yes.
Trustee Nasser?
Yes.
Trustee Serene? Trustee Wall?
Yes.
Trustee Williams, no. Trustee Gator?
Yes, motion carries. Is there any old business to come before the Board of Education? Any old business?
Yeah, the home visits.
Sorry?
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Other business.
All right, District Points of Pride Superintendent Weeks.
I did want to acknowledge I had a chance to visit the kindergarten classroom of Ms. Osborne and paraprofessional Ms. Brown to read to their students during Reading Month. I had a great experience with the young people. Those two have invited me to the classroom. Since I've been here, it's always a great experience. But the most recent experience when I was there, I learned something that every year, the students, in collaboration and under the guidance of Ms. Osborne and Ms. Brown, actually write and publish a book. So these are kindergarten students who write and have a book published. And I spoke with them about the importance of literacy as a legacy. You know, literacy is something that can never be taken away from you. The importance of reading is something that we want to promote to all of our students. And I am just so impressed with that these young people are writing their stories, and then under the guidance of those two dynamic educators, they actually have their book published, and they've been doing this for quite some time. So just want to give them recognition for the great work they're doing here at Dearborn Heights.
Thank you. Does that conclude your points of questions? Okay. On to public comment number 2. We're officially taking public comments on anything that you may wish to speak of. We ask that you limit your comment to 5 minutes. We ask that you state your name and where you're from and any group affiliation. Our public comment time is for an hour, and if we want to extend that, I would need a motion to do so. So we welcome you.
Alright. Oh, we're still fine?
No, please.
Okay.
I was finished.
I'm Jude Sears, sophomore in Annapolis.
Welcome, Jude Sears.
Thank you. I wrote everything on my phone, so. A little nervous, might stumble a bit, so I apologize in advance. So in regards to the board meeting being scheduled for May 3rd, just a few days before the drama club play, I just wanted to address that. So here we go. When I discovered that the board meeting scheduled for May the 3rd will take place in the auditorium during the last stretch of rehearsals our drama club has before performance, I figured the best way I could reach out and express my opposition was to speak to you all directly. Dr. Weeks, I know that you place a heavy emphasis on uplifting the voices of students, so I'm here to introduce you to the voices that you wish to hear from. Going into this, I hope you all understand that while it's just me standing here, I speak on behalf of the dozens of students that make up our drama club at Annapolis, as well as its 2 leaders, Ms. Fynham and Ms. Sonberger, who's not here. Our play, The Sissification of Romeo and Juliet, is slated for May the 5th, 2 days after the board meeting, which will occupy our greatest resource, takes place. Our last week of rehearsal is crucial to us. We need this stage to ensure all of our actors can enter and exit properly, project their voices to the back of the room, and have an understanding of what it'll feel like to perform for hundreds of people. We have rehearsed outside of the auditorium before, and trust me, it's not the same. I know anyone could just say that, but I promise it's true. I think it's also worth mentioning that in order to make way for the board meeting, people would have to remove our sets and decorations from the stage for the evening. And as a result, the following day, our day of dress rehearsal, we will spend some of it setting everything back up. And if the board refuses to relocate and make this one exception, our rehearsals will conclude on a suboptimal note. I don't think it's appropriate that access to this resource is allocated in favor of the board as opposed to the students who have been waiting to make use of it for several years now. And I also believe that it would only make sense for Ms. Fynham, who worked persistently towards having this theater renovated, to be supported in her efforts to bring student theater back to the D7 community. I hope that the board takes into consideration the welfare of the students in their district and that they act in favor of the community's wishes. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Yes. Good evening, welcome.
My name is Alyssa Howard, Annapolis High School senior. I am also a cast member for the play of The Sissification of Romeo and Juliet. This play is extremely important to our cast, crew, and our teachers, Ms. Fynham and Ms. Sonberger. We are extremely excited to perform it for the community, but how can we prepare if you expect us to move everything we need to prep ourselves off the stage just 2 nights prior to our opening night? It takes a long time to set up a stage production, and having us move all of our props and backgrounds will cause issues. I believe when the location for the board meetings was moved to the high school, it was made clear that if for any reason the auditorium was in use, that the board meeting for that would be held at Polk. I believe it is unfair to the students and the staff for us to be expected to move our sets off of our high school stage for a meeting that can be relocated. We students are creating something that is supposed to be enjoyable for our community. And I would also like to thank Trustee Windless for mentioning the home visits, as it has been a concern for many families. Regarding the home visits, why was it an opt-out rather than an opt-in? Families should not have to rush to get out of a home visit they didn't even sign up for, especially not within 72 hours. Something that could be considered an invasion of privacy should be a decision, not a race to opt out. Families should have decided on their own whether or not they want to be in a program like that by a deadline. We should not automatically be placed in a program and have a deadline to opt out of it. The way this program was handled was the opposite of the way it should have been handled, especially given the fact that there was very little information given to families about this program. And lastly, I am a Christian who practices Lent every year, and I know some other students who do as well. Every year, we often struggle getting lunches to accommodate us, considering most lunch options contain meat at our schools. For those who do not celebrate Lent begins on Ash Wednesday and ends on La Semana Santa or Holy Week, meaning we cannot eat any meat the Friday after Ash Wednesday or eat meat during the week of Holy Week until Easter Sunday. It has been especially difficult this season, considering Holy Week landed on a school week rather than spring break. And I want to request that the lunch program consider providing more Lent options for our students in the future during Lent. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment? Good evening.
Bonjour, Jeanette Kinwa. Ishkan Kirokwa and Disneycast. Michigaya Orandoden. My name is Julie Guy. I'm a Pocahontas Band of Potawatomi Indians elder from Dutch 7th Street in Dowagiac, Michigan. And I'm here to speak about the Dearborn Heights Redskins football and cheer teams. As I educate people all the time, we're over 3,000 U.S. schools that adopted native-themed sports mascots from the 1900s and after. After indigenous populations were decimated, this was done to memorialize the dying race. Well, we didn't die. We were once the majority, but we are now 1% to 2% due to government policy and colonization. Sports teams misidentify us as Indians, Redskins, Savages, etc. This is not to honor us, it's to use us for what you think we are. Redskins is a dictionary-defined racial slur. The etymology of the word refers to our bloody scalps that were taken for bounties during colonial times. The eagle feathers displayed on the football helmets eagle feathers are sacred to us, and we use them in prayer to send word to the Creator. We know who we are, we know our history, we own our identity, and resent and reject the appropriation of us. I heard talk tonight about DEI programs. No other races are used in this manner. It seems to me that DEI and the support of this racial slur team don't go together at all. So please stop supporting this egregious discrimination. Miigwech, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Welcome and thank you.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Isha Miles. I live in Belleville, Michigan, member of the Anishinaabe Caucus, part of the Democratic Party, member of the Rama First Nation in Canada, Chippewa. And I'm here to address my concerns about the Dearborn Heights red bleeps. I don't like to use what they call themselves. Of the WSJFL League. My concern is that they're dragging their feet and changing their name and their logo. All right, the national team changed theirs, and it should have been changed already, even before that. And if the team in our nation's capital can change their name, then why can't Dearborn Heights? I've been with this issue for many years, since my child was around 10 years old, and he's 22. About that time, the Dearborn Heights Red Bleeps came to play Lincoln Consolidated Schools in Ypsilanti. And I protested that. I was outraged that they would come to Lincoln. And my outrage continues. I would like, let me see. Lincoln Consolidated MD. I protested and continue to protest. I would like to see, I urge the public schools, Dearborn Heights Public Schools, to bar them from using their fields, etc., while displaying the racist logo and name. The league not only gives Dearborn Heights a bad look, but they also import their racism to surrounding communities. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Good evening, welcome.
Heather Sanders, 1440 Main Street. Can I move this because I'm not tall? There we go. I have lots. Let's see. So let's start with the not so great stuff. So I had a whole thing written up that I had hoped that the home visit would be addressed by Dr. Weeks, but that was obviously written before he did address that. So the program, that centric program that was presented, was actually referred to as like a last resort program, if anyone remembers, or like last chance. I think that lady said that like 12 times. And it was for at-risk students of dropping out. Never ever did they say anything about home visits being for everyone in the district, and I understand that you kind of explained it a little bit, but to me that seems like so much extra work to not have that work. Like, there might be 50 kids in the district that need it or utilize it, but let's send that email out to, you know, the thousands of students we have, and then ask us to opt out of it. That made absolutely no sense, and the letter itself didn't have any information in it. And then honestly, I would have expected, like all these presentations that we get, and we get a lot of them, I would have thought at some point it would have been addressed better. I know you're kind of piggybacking that it's like, oh, it was that presentation, but it wasn't that presentation. That wasn't it at all. Thank God that I document these meetings. I'm always so happy for that. But that's not what the presentation was about. It didn't talk about everybody in the district. It talked about these last resort kids. So there was that. What was the cost to the district for that, or for this service too? Whose idea was it, and what was the reasoning behind it, if it's not the last chance thing? And what was the process for Dr. Finney to opt everyone out of it? Because I would assume if the whole district was opted in, I know quite a few people have opted out. So I was wondering what the process was that Dr. Finney had to do to opt those people out. I know that she received emails, and then she responded to those emails, but what else? Like, did she have to go into a program and click on these kids' names? Did she have to put their address in there physically? I'm asking that because I would think that Dr. Finney has a lot to do. And I think that we pay her pretty good probably because of her position. And I would think spending a couple of days answering emails or opting out students, I think her time could have been spent better somewhere else. Mr. Perkins did awesome with his presentation. However, I would like to see somebody budget in microphones for everybody out there. I don't know if this is annoying it is for you guys as it is for us, but it just looks so unprofessional. We talk about wanting to look professional all the time, but that right there really looks unprofessional more than a lot of things you guys talk about. Like the passing back and forth with the microphone, and it's really loud and it echoes out here. And I sometimes think maybe some of them want to speak up because you see them, but nobody hears them and they kind of go, never mind. So I would really like to see that. I mean, I'm pretty good at fundraising. If you guys need me to help you get microphones, I would be glad to do that. So I also heard, I can't remember the time, Mr. Weeks referred to, or Dr. Weeks, I apologize, the Listen and Learn tour number 3, I believe he said. That must have been for the staff because I personally attended what I think was tour number 1 for the community members. And some of us that attended that have talked a lot about that, wondering whatever happened to that meeting. Like what happened to all those sticky notes and the things we wrote on there. And nothing was ever done with that. We were told at the time we would have these more meetings, things were going to get dressed. Like we all spent a lot of time. Like there was a lot of stuff on the board. I believe Ms. Willis was there. There was a lot of us there. So we discussed all kinds of things, but it was never addressed afterwards, and it was never brought up. And some of us wondered what happened with that info, and what happened with the plans to continue those meetings and implement those changes. Oh, okay, 25 seconds. So the meetings are extremely long lately in the last few months, like extremely. Actually in the last year. So if we're gonna have like 4-hour meetings, maybe we should go to 3 meetings a month. Because I know nobody wants to do that, I don't wanna do that either. But I would rather do that than not get home until midnight on a Wednesday. So I'll be back when I'm allowed to have my second time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Good evening.
Hi, Jennifer Feynman again. Okay, so you heard a bunch of students talking about moving the board meeting. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about. I would like you to please move the board meeting on May 3rd. I cannot stress to you how much these kids want to do the show and they want to do it well. We are going to have a huge backdrop up there on the stage that's going to look like Dr. Seuss land. So that's going to be hard to move, and it's going to look great behind all of you guys who look like you're Dr. Seuss. But we need the stage for the kids. This auditorium, I didn't fight for the auditorium to be redone for board meetings. I fought for it for the kids. I wanted this place to be for them to be able to do great shows. First time in 4 years we're doing a show. So I think that it's really important that we appreciate and that we show respect to the kids and let them have the space to work. Relocating the meeting isn't a hard thing to do. You can go right down the hall. You've done it in the library here. We used to do it in Cole. I don't think it would be a stress for anybody to relocate. I think that it's an easy thing to do. And the kids would really appreciate it so that they can be at their best for this show that they're going to do 2 days after your meeting. So I'd really like you guys to consider moving so that that can happen. Okay, so there's some other things I wanted to ask about. There was the comment that the schools will be presenting data again. If I recall last time that data was presented, we didn't hear anything from the new online program that we have. So I'm wondering if that program will share data this time around, because they didn't last time. Talking about the re-engagement of students. I get that there's all these big ideas about how to re-engage the kids, and I did mention this earlier, but the easiest way for us to do that is to actually deal with the kids. Rather than spending all kinds of money on stuff that we don't need, things like Kahoot and all that kind of stuff. And I'm sure that elementary school teachers and middle school teachers have programs that they would like to have district-wide or school-wide in their location so that they can engage the kids. Having conversations about MTSS and PBIS and all that stuff is great, but it doesn't engage our students. COVID did a number on these kids, and they just don't have the attention span they once did. We've given them computers. We're a one-to-one district. It makes sense to invest money in programs that will work with our kids. And the more that I can, for lack of a better word, gamify what I'm doing, I will get them on board.
They love doing things at the high school level, even like Pear Deck and like Kahoots. They love Kahoots. And if you buy the Kahoot program, you can do testing. It will trace data. It will do all of that for you. Pear Deck does the same thing. You can get spreadsheets that tell you who did what and what percentage they are. There's all kinds of stuff that is academically sound about using these programs. It's not just to make it fun for kids. It's going to be a way for us to engage and then check. So I think that's a really important thing. Spend the money there instead of other places because it'll really help the kids. I was curious about how much the camp is and the fundraising for the camp because I am a sponsor for a class. This is my 6th class. We do a lot of fundraising and I feel like there's a lot of fundraising going on in the schools at any day. And so for kids to be fundraising for something that they're going to have to pay for on their own, and then they're fundraising for all-night party, and then they're fundraising for their prom that happens in 4 years, and then they're fundraising for teams, and there's just a lot of money going out there. I don't know if there's another way to deal with the camp. I don't know if there's another way to pay for it. I just think we need to be aware that we are a low-income district, and the kids can't keep going to the same pools and asking for money and getting people to buy another chocolate bar or whatever it is they're doing. I think there's got to be another way. I don't know what it is, but I am curious how much that camp is going to cost. And I am a little curious about the school improvement stuff that Dr. Weeks was talking about, because I don't recall any of my peers at the high school reaching out to me to ask me anything about school improvement. I know that there's a school improvement committee, but nobody has approached our staff about any of this stuff. I don't know if it's the same for the other schools. So I'm curious to know what was being said in those meetings, because we don't know. And that's another issue that I have. I mean, really, your teachers are your best resource here in the district. And for our voices to keep being stifled, it's hard for us. We want the kids to be great. So we want to help them be great. And I just feel like there's so much bureaucracy around that the easiest way to get to them is to interact with them, and it's not happening. It's really upsetting for many of us teachers. So I think that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public comment? Good evening, Walter. Thank you.
Oh, I
for your time. I just want to say thank you again to the board for your continued questions, for continuously asking for clarification, and of course showing your tremendous support for our students and their teachers. It is more appreciated than you guys know, so thank you for that. I have been a part of Listen and Learn Tours on multiple occasions when I worked in Detroit, and they were very different than what I've experienced so far in D7. So I do look forward to future Listen and Learn Tours. And I do just want to share my past experiences in hopes that it might help to guide the future Listen and Learn Tours in the district. My past experience has been with an administrator setting aside blocks of time during the day, and then they send out a schedule with the staff in that building, and they allow staff members to sign up for 10 to 15 minute periods or slots where they can meet either in a centralized location or in that teacher's classroom, whatever is agreed upon. And this would not only allow for more awareness, more ability to reach different voices from different buildings across different levels within the district. But I know that it would take a lot of time. We have like 5, 6 buildings, several teachers within each building. So I know that it would be a lot, but I think it would be a great opportunity. And I do also think that it's the perfect chance, again, for all staff members to have a moment to be heard. And I feel as though that it could really help to bridge that gap between central office and staff members, as many other community members have shared. So I just want to share that. Thank you. Thank you for your public comment. Is there any other public comment? Any other public comment before I bring back anyone else who's already in the public comment? All right. You're up. Thank you.
Heather Sanders, 1440 Main Street. So now this is the good stuff. So I wanted to take this time to thank all of our board members that came to the fashion show and or donated. It was amazing. It turned out better than we thought it was, and it was very successful for fundraising. and for the kids had a blast. They really did amazing, and I was honestly shocked. We didn't practice as much as we wanted to, and it really came off like we had really been practicing forever. And I'm so proud of all those kids, who some of them were so uncomfortable and so nervous, and they came out here looking like they belonged on the stage. But it really meant a lot to us to see a lot of our board members there, and a lot of our staff came. We had elementary school teachers that had these kids years ago that came to support them, and that was just really, really nice. I believe with our ticket sales, with what we figured out, I know that we had over 200 people in the seats. I think it was closer to like 230 or something like that, so I thought that was pretty something to be really proud of. I wanted to remind everybody the pancake breakfast is this Saturday from 9 to 1. We have awesome raffles, bake sale, and we will have Spider-Man, the bunny, and the cougar. We are still accepting donations for raffles and bake sales, and for any help that anybody would like to offer us. I know I've had a few board members that have offered their services, and I appreciate that. We also have a Schwartz gift card fundraiser right now, and it doesn't cost you anything if you already shop there, because the gift cards are $25 and that's what you pay for it. And then our committee would make $5 off of that. So I personally love that greenhouse. So hopefully you guys can reach out to me and sell you some cards. Senior Signs is Friday. That is our deadline. This year we did 3 options. So even if you didn't have a senior but you wanted to show your support, you could get a Annapolis 2023 graduation sign and put it in your yard. So if you'd like to do that, you have till Friday. Last, the 2 students that came up, awesome. They did a great job. And we always have the amazing students that come all the time, but it's great to see some that aren't on the ambassadors or any of that get up and talk, and they're always so nervous, and yet they do such an amazing job. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment to come before the board? Any other public comment before we close the public comment section? Okay, seeing here none, thank you. Moving on to other business board committee updates. We have had 2 board committee meetings since our last meeting, and so I'll turn it over to the chairperson of the bond committee to read the minutes.
Okay, apologize about that. So we had a meeting, last Wednesday, March 29th. Present was myself, Trustee Dudkowski, committee member Pat Greca, and then virtual we had athletic director Jason Perkins, athletic director Josh Thielen, and Dr. Weeds. Not present, Trustee Winless and committee member Virginia Morgan. Old business, what we had was, there was no update with regards to trying to find out about the printing program, see if they could do possibly information with regards to the summer projects. And then at the time of the meeting, we did not have any update on the electric panel, if it was completed during the spring break, because it was still spring break. And then Shaw Construction did, or is going to seek bid for moving of the school furnishings for the weekend prior to the start of construction, and hopefully we'll have that information at the next bond committee meeting. New business, we talked in regards with the athletic director on the fencing for the baseball field. Initially it was to be temporary, and then it was agreed upon to make it a permanent fix to the fence on an angle, so that way construction vehicles could still get behind and around the baseball field for the football field construction. And then the other discussion was regarding the south end of the football field of putting an angled gate so the construction vehicles can get in. And there was discussion of possibly leaving the gate there versus taking it down and putting another fence up. The other part we talked about was speaker replacement at Party School. There were some speakers that had not been listed in the initial plan to be replaced, and there is going to be a future discussion to get clarification on the speakers. With other business, there was inquiry with regards to the football field will be closed to the public for safety reasons during the football field construction, and there was also inquiry on a timeline table for the turf field project, so that way the committee would be a little bit more familiar with the time plans. And then the last part of the discussion was regarding having bond meetings bi-weekly starting April 12th through May 24th, while projects are getting closer to start, and there was an understanding, though, that we could cancel a meeting if there is nothing to cover. And there was no public comment, and meeting started at 5:01 and ended at 5:58.
Thank you, Vice President Wong. Any questions or comments about the bond meeting?
We did talk about, just so you know, we did talk about as far as the speakers at Party goes, and we were talking about the contingency money that's left in that project. We want to know before we agree to Shaw Construction's bids for storage. We want to know how much is in the contingency, because we want to make sure that the speakers are taken care of for safety reasons.
That sounds like that would have to be deferred to Dr. Kissinger, right? To be able to understand what's going on.
No, it was just something discussed at the meeting.
Something discussed.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know if there was a question. Sorry. Thank you for following up with that. Any other questions or comments about the bond committee meeting?
Point of clarification.
Yes.
Was Mr. Thomas there? Tony Thomas?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Tony Thomas was at the meeting. Oh, I will have to give you an updated meeting. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, sounds good. There was also a building and site meeting on March the 15th. In attendance was myself, Vice President Wall, Trustee Sterlini, Ms. Greco, Mrs. Greco, Mrs. Morgan, Jason Perkins, Dr. Weeks, and absent, we had invited the business manager, the interim business manager, Dr. Kissinger. The meeting was called to order at 5:21. We discussed and created some group norms to be able to govern us and keep us on track. And we are under the impression and understanding that those group norms will be a work in progress. Again, we had asked Dr. Kissinger to be there to give a budget update. She could not be there, but Dr. Weeks did present a budget on her behalf. We reviewed that budget. The committee wanted to have an itemized budget to reflect the last 3 years of spending. And the next allocation of funding will be on July the 1st, 2023, and that is at $990,000. Okay? We talked about the needs assessment for recreational areas. A cost analysis will be needed, and Mr. Perkins was given it to start on his to-do list. We talked about beautification, and that it can happen in partnership with local companies such as BNL to be able to manage costs. We talked about SET, and how they can support us in beautification projects. There was discussion on whether or not ESSER funds can be used for recreational projects, and we'll wait to hear back from Dr. Weeks and Mr. Perkins on that. And there was an emphasis on spending wisely. We talked some more about future projects in the 3- and 5-year plan, the lockdown devices for the panic bars. The proposals were to be given to Mr. Perkins that following week from this meeting day. There was a focus on health and safety first when prioritizing and completing projects. Discussion again on other projects. We as a committee are deciding to continue with having the elevator at Annapolis remain as a top priority. And there was discussion on what can't and can't be used for ESSER funds and stipulations. And we are in need of administration to do some fact checking around that and follow up with us as a committee. A concrete update at Annapolis and Party. and I believe I mentioned this before at the last board meeting, but Mr. Perkins contacted the city of Dearborn Heights to discuss fixing that easement at Pardee. Dearborn Heights reportedly said that E7 can fix it and pay for it, and we asked that Mr. Perkins continue to talk with them to make that possible for us. Annapolis High School, the concrete company, can add it to the scope of work for spring of 2023. There was no public comment. Our meeting did adjourn at 6:30 p.m. Our next meeting is scheduled for April the 15th, 2023 at 5:15 at Annapolis. And there was a mention from a committee member that there was apparently a mold and air quality issue at Pardee and Bedford, and we asked that administration look into that for us. Any questions about the building and site committee meeting? Sounds good. Wanted to follow up and let the board and the community know that there was a posting today to solicit interest letters for the finance committee. Again, that posting went out today. That posting period will close on April 12th. We won't be a sticker on the time as long as you get it in before 12 p.m. of that day. Those letters are to go to Eve, and at the following board meeting, it is my aspiration to appoint at least 1 to 2 community members to the finance committee. Any questions about that? Okay, as a friendly reminder to the board, and I'll try to put this in a less confusing way, if a board member who's not on a specific committee attends a committee meeting, please keep in mind too that it would make it a quorum at that point, in most cases, and that you can not talk about board business in that meeting if it is a quorum. Just a friendly reminder. So if you are a board member attending the meeting, I would advise you just to take in information, and if you have questions or any input or anything, bring it to the following board meeting so your voice can be reflected. Any questions about that? Yes.
So are you asking that we not participate in public comment at the meeting?
I would say yes, because we just don't want to be in any violations of being a quorum at those meetings and then making it seem like we're taking action. I want to steer as far away from that as I can, and so I think the best thing to do was to bring your questions and comments back to the board meeting so we can talk about it as a full board. Okay.
So technically there cannot be 4 board members in any one location at the same time discussing
district
business. So if there's 3 board members on a committee and a 4th board member chooses to attend, technically that meeting needs to be canceled because there cannot be 4 board members.
Question, just for clarification.
So that's not how I understood it when I took up the Meetings Act. We can sit in on meetings. We can't discuss. Well,
That's what I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, if
but we
somebody
can attend.
chooses to.
Yeah, I don't know about the public comment thing though. That's a little iffy, but we definitely can do.
Hopefully I communicated that clearly, that the discussion around it and moving towards any kind of deliberation and action as 4 members of the board could put us in violation.
My understanding was because you don't.
I'm sorry, trustee, I want Vice President Law, and then I'll go back.
Oh, I was just gonna say, from what I understood, that if there was a 4th person and they're listening, there'd be no objection, because but the moment that you even ask a question, then the risk comes in if I say, well, no, we just did a dialogue, then that would be a violation. So that's the reason why it wouldn't be good to say anything or ask anything at the meeting, because once someone else talks, then you got the quorum.
That's why that's what my comment was going to be, that you don't respond to public. That's the consistency of what you're doing right now, is you're not responding to public comment. So when I participated in public comment, nobody responded to me. It just was noted that I made a comment and then it went on about the day. So because we don't respond to public comment, there wouldn't be a conflict, there wouldn't be a back and forth.
Yeah, and I understand that. It was just a cautionary statement around it, just to be very mindful that there should not be any deliberation when there's 4 boards. All right, thank you for that. I do have some other business that I wanted to bring before the board, but I see here department chairs and instructional coaches. Is that a new point now, Dr. Lee? So that's okay with that?
That's a new point.
New point. All right. I do remember that Trustee Bukowski and Secretary Willis had other business matters, but I have some first too. I wanted to let the board know that I heard the feedback about how long our meetings have been, and one thing that we could move forward with, which I feel is a good idea, is that we have our first meetings of the month, be presentations and lengthy discussions about presentations, and that following meeting of the month be strictly resolutions and any other critical matters that come up that is deserving of board action. It's customary to do that amongst other boards. Wanted to let the board know that that is the direction I'm willing and wanting to take, unless I hear any objections to that.
No objection.
No objection. Secretary Lindlis, did you have a comment?
Just anything you can do.
Anything I can do to make it short? Trying. All right. Any other questions or comments about that? So I'm hearing consensus beginning in May. We can start moving forward with that. All right. Going to my notes. We did have a study session today, a board governance workshop study session. We'd love to hear if the board is willing to share any feedback that they gathered, any feedback that they want to share. And I also want to entertain the board's comments about what direction we should move in. Should we invite Ms. Cross back? Should we have someone else back to be able to continue that board governance work? Because as she stated, that was just like a drop in the bucket as to board governance. So if anyone's willing to speak on it, great. If it's too soon, I understand that too. Trustee Bokowski?
I will speak on it. I found her to be very informative, very knowledgeable, informative, knowledgeable, same thing. I would be in favor of having her again, to research it more. I liked the relaxed atmosphere that I felt that we were able to have conversation, and it was very productive, I felt.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board about the study session we attended today? Vice President Wall, and I'll go to Secretary Williams.
I did enjoy the study session. I think it was kind of nice because it was a little more relaxed than that. You know, the idea of maybe, I'm just putting it out there, was that, maybe, we plan like a study session maybe every other month or something, but not necessarily always on the same subject. I felt what we did cover was very resourceful, but me personally, I didn't feel that there was a need for a second time, but I'm up to hearing whatever everybody else thinks.
Thank you. Secretary Williams, can we hear you?
I thought it went well, but I would not be in support of paying somebody for that. What we got in there, even though I thought it was great, we could have got it for free. I've been in those kind of board governance trainings before that's very similar, just the handouts that we got, the activities that we did. I don't think it was worth the money spent, so I would recommend us doing either a different presenter or something free for the next month.
Okay. Trustee Nassar, Trustee Upsala, Trustee Sterling, and then I'll take it.
The presentation wasn't great. I think she was a lot of things. A lot of that was great. But I do agree with President Wall.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I definitely like this session a lot more better than the ones we had in the past. I think it was way easier that we did it with. And I found it beneficial because I think everyone could use a reminder. And I think we're all new here. So I would be in favor of doing another one, but maybe like a study session like without having a meeting. That way like it's not cut off and it's just like it's a continuous, whether it's like 2.5 hours and whatnot. So you can get a little bit more out of it and you don't have to leave like really quickly. But like every other month or like even once every quarter or something, just kind of regather and see where we're all at.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Sterling, if you have a comment.
I'm on the same page as everyone. I liked it, it was great. I don't know that I would use her again personally. I would like to see different topics come up and talk. We definitely need it as a group. I would like us to be able to have study sessions and discuss things and learn from each other. I think it's very helpful. So anything we can learn to be a good.
All right, sounds good. So my takeaway, I felt that it was very useful in comparing it to our last board governance sessions from HISG. I felt I walked away with more substance from this board governance session, and I felt it was individualized to our current needs. That's not to say that the other board governance session was useless. I'm not saying that at all. I just felt that this one was more tailored and individualized to our needs. One thing that I took away is that the need for more study sessions, and like you said, Vice President Wall, we can do that continuously for various topics, and that it would be to our advantage to have board retreats. Because one thing we haven't done as a board is set our own vision and goals, if you will, on how to support the strategic plan. We have not done that. And so I would like to reach out to you guys individually to maybe discuss, like, what should our next study session be, what those topics should be about. Do we feel comfortable guiding it ourselves? Me personally, I think not. Who could we get in to facilitate that so we are being efficient, we're learning information, and we can apply it as an effective board? So does anyone have any opposition to me reaching out to you all individually to kind of figure out what we can do to get these study sessions scheduled?
Would these be like the study sessions to cover like public comment and like all the other like stuff that we don't get to in here?
It could be a number of things. One thing that she suggested was going through the orientation binder to be able to say what we need and what we don't need in the essence of that orientation binder. That's just one. It could be about public comment. It could be about a number of things that we should be doing as a board to help run our district. So it can be a number of things. And that's what I'm expecting to hear from you guys individually. What are things that you feel is important for us to discuss in a study session? And then my job would be to prioritize it based on what I'm hearing. Anything else regarding that? Anything? Okay, so I'm hearing consensus that that's a no for Ms. Cross at this time, but we appreciated her service, we appreciated her skill set. All right. One thing that I also wanted to uplift to the board is like when we gave her support, you guys remember the board took action and we paid her $530. Typically her sessions are 3 hours, but because of our board structure, I don't think I heard that we wanted to sit in a meeting 3 hours right before a board meeting, given how long our board meetings already are. So I guess what I could do, if the board wanted me to, was to reach out to her and say, can you come back a second time that is still under that $530 fee, since originally her time block was for 3 hours anyway. I could do that to ask. Of course, I don't know her answer, but I'd be willing to do that if the board wants me to. So if she says yes, I can come back. You guys will be open to that. There's no extra money paid.
Right.
I'm hearing a bunch of yeses.
Yes.
All right, I will keep you guys informed via email. Okay, reviewing my notes again. I believe that is it for me. Is there any other business to come before the board? Trustee Bokowski?
Sorry, I really wish Dr. Finney was here because this is really directed towards her. This is in regards, Dr. Weeks, to the Concentra contract that we have. I remember the presentation. I remember the gentleman standing up and talking about it, and that this was going to be, for students who are at risk due to excessive absences, doing well visits, checking on this, that this was better than sending in a truancy officer. And the letter that went out to the district did not clearly state anything along those lines at all. And then the email responses from Dr. Finney were contradictory in her answers. And again, Dr. Weeks, I wish she was here so she could answer these questions, but I'm just wanting to lift it up to you so you are aware that there was, this was a breakdown in communication somewhere. And first of all, the letters went out to every family in the district, which is not how it was presented. Secondly, it did not go out to the families in a timely manner. I'm not sure if that was, building principals who did not send it out in a timely manner, but I know the extension was given for 72 hours. And again, it was an opt-out instead of an opt-in. The way it was presented in the letter was very unclear as to what it was. So I'm wondering if we couldn't somehow reel it back and present it to the families in a different way, because I'm not sure what the response was for Dr. Finney and how many families chose to opt in to it. Again, there was a breakdown of communication somewhere along the line, and I just wish Dr. Finney was here to address that, because, like I said, the information that went home and then the email response that my daughter received and the email response that another family member received were two completely different answers.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Reed?
Thank you for that, trustee. I can work with Dr. Finney on reshaping that communication. But just for a point of clarification, I asked for her to give me some context just so we can kind of get a clarification to the board as a general public. So the state of Michigan actually has a requirement that all school districts has a protocol in place for chronically absent students. It's called compulsory attendance law. So this is law from the state of Michigan. It's a requirement for all school districts. And so typically the opt-out process is consistent with what we do for normal business. Case in point, we may have students at the start of the school year opt out of being a part of videos. They don't actually opt into videos. They may opt out of taking pictures or having pictures publicized on the website. They don't actually opt in to taking pictures. Students can opt out of sex education topics. They don't actually opt in. They can opt out of state testing, like MSTEP. They don't actually opt in. So it's pretty consistent for us to ask for students to opt out.
Okay. Any other business to come before the board? Vice President Wall?
The only question I had with regards to that is, because I thought, and I'd have to go back and look at the notes, and that's why you don't have to answer this now. But I thought that when it was presented, I thought I asked what would that cost us with regards to do we know how many students that might possibly involve? And then my question comes about is, if everybody decided to participate, would that have changed our cost for that service? That was my only concern.
So the service that we're receiving is predicated on the number of total visits. So we paid $1 amount for 400 total visits. So regardless of the number of students that opt into it, our total amount of visits will not exceed 400 visits. So if we have 2,600 students opt in, and it's not likely that we're going to have 2,600 students eligible for wellness checks. But let's say we have 1,000. It's still, the total number of visits will be 400. But it's not likely we're going to have 1,000 students chronically absent.
So even with the opt-in, that doesn't mean they're getting the visits.
Correct.
Okay.
There's not 400 families that are going to take this service.
Consent that you
Yeah.
would be willing to
And one of the points I wanted to make is, so we may have, oftentimes, our goal is to create a culture where families view us as an extension of the family and that we are receptive to care and concern for students. Case in point, I have 3 children who are all in school, and they don't miss days of school. But we wouldn't opt out of this because let's say something happens to a family that does have stability, and for some reason a student is absent for 10 straight days. Imagine you being the parent that no one called. So in the spirit of care and concern, this is a wellness check to make sure that students are okay. That's the whole purpose and intent of this program. It's not to be intrusive. It's not for us to consider ourselves to be in any way violating a family's privacy. We just want to make sure that young people are okay.
And it sounds like young people and families are given the option.
They're given the option. So you can be a family member that is a parent of a student that is chronically absent. You can still opt out of it.
Okay. But I hear you, Dr. Weeks, the messaging and packaging of that.
The messaging may have been a little different.
A little different.
Because again, this is not anything that we're doing to families. It's something we're trying to do to support families.
And hence that was my question, so thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Secretary Young?
So for the families who didn't opt out in the 72-hour time frame, because they maybe didn't see the email or whatever, they still are going to have an opportunity to opt out when they call them to do a home visit. Like they're not going to just pop up at their house.
Indeed.
Okay.
Last one? Yes, Trustee Botowski?
I just wish the way you just described it was so eloquent. I wish that's the way it was presented to the families.
I appreciate that. I didn't, like I said, I'll work with Dr. Finney when the reframe that goes on.
Okay. Any other business to come before the board? All right, we're on to kudos.
I had one, I'm sorry.
I did say it was the last one. Is it something very urgent?
No, I had one for other business. I thought you were saying the last one for that topic.
No, last one to close that section out.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Happy Autism Acceptance Month.
Yep.
And I just wanted to know at the next meeting, can we get a presentation? Because I heard people come to the podium and talk about like what we don't do for special education. So can we have something that like spotlights or outlines what we're doing for this month at the building?
Like in a newsletter or weekly update?
Or a superintendent update or at the next one.
We can work toward that being a part of the main presentation. That would be something that Dr. Ivy would present to the board.
Yeah, I obviously Dr. Ivy present.
Yeah.
All right, are we done with other business?
Yeah.
Thank you. Kudos, please.
Kudos, please. Okay, so we have to Emily Anderson, Chad Hall, Kaz Neok, and Mary McDonald from the OW Best Counselors, Carrie Hurd, and Ann Stokes. Thank you to the teachers who helped us with the 5th grade transition activities. Our language arts teachers, Mrs. Anderson and Mrs. McDonald, coordinated pen pal letters for their classes, and Mr. Cobb and Ms. Neok helped us with tours when the elementary schools visited. We appreciate all of your help in making these important activities run smoothly. To Mrs. Macchia from Mrs. Jopi, thank you for an amazing family reading night. The whole month of March has been a blast, celebrating the love of reading. From the book bracket competition, the book raffle baskets, and wrapping it all up with an out of this world family night. Carrie, you are amazing, and thank you for all you do for the Bedford families. To Ann Cass from Becky Shudon and the Ballham Chiodo, thank you for the clarification. I butchered that. Thank you for organizing such a Paul Sum reading night, PAW. The kids and families loved it. It was fantastic. Great job. To Allison Home, instructional para at Pardee from the Pardee family. Mrs. Holmes supports one of our kindergarten class at Pardee. She is phenomenal. She is patient and has high expectations for a student. We're so lucky to have her at Pardee. To Hasna Saad, ESL teacher, coach at Pardee from the Pardee family. Mrs. Saad is new to Pardee this school year and we love her. She works with our EL students but supports the entire school. She has created wonderful relationships with everyone here at Pardee. Mrs. So also does a tremendous job of working with her students and staff to ensure her students are successful. To the Pope, students, staff, and families from Penny LeBlanc, thank you for making Reading Month an out-of-this-world event. Your support to promote literacy is very much appreciated. A special thank you to Sarah Good and Allison Sophia for the extraordinary support. To Kim Sloan from Marcy Joby. Ms. Sloan has been a long-term substitute for a 4th grade classroom since the beginning of this school year. She has done an amazing job. She has gone above and beyond for Bedford and our students. We truly appreciate all of her hard work and dedication. She is a Bedford Bear through and through. And to Kaylee O'Malley, Cindy Massaul, Kim Scales, Jen Mast, Melissa Wade, Rebecca Bola, Nancy Durham, Alex Bastian, David Bureau, and Karen Keenaz from OWS Councils, Carrie Hurd and Ann Stubbs. Thank you to the 5th grade teachers and elementary councils for your support with the 5th grade transition activities. We appreciate all you did to prepare your students for our visit to your school and your visit to BEST. Thank you so much.
All right, is that complete your kudos?
That concludes the kudos.
All right. Motion to adjourn the meeting at 11:28. So moved by trustee Alcala, is there support? Supported by trustee Sterling, is there discussion? Roll call please.
Trustee McCoskey? Yes. Trustee Nasser?
Yes.
Trustee Sterling? Trustee Walker?
Yes.
Trustee Willis? Yes. Trustee Fallon? Yes. Trustee Davis?
Yes, motion carries. Good night, everyone. Good job.